Cafe, and my name is Linda Alela. It's good that you're part of the conversation. The hashtag is Morning Cafe and at Linda_Alela TV47KE across all our social media platforms. Now, a majority of Kenyans are agitated by the current regime, perhaps a revolution brewing. Well, many say the hustler feels should change. Prices of basic commodities shoot up by the day, and the obvious political decoy to divert the people's political perception. The echelons have mastered the art of deception, and Kenyans are at the heart of their deceit. They, however, remain alert to these very happenings. Will Kenyans be patient till 2027? If not, just what are they bound to do? That's what we look at this morning as we set our eyes on what the Kenya Kwanza government is doing in the country. Take a look at the political situation that has played out over the weekend and coming into this very week, and what is left of us when we're looking at the needs and the important things in the country. Talk of health, talk of the economy, talk of education, talk of so much that we are bound to look at. It's good to have you joining us this very morning, and we'll definitely love for you to be with us all the way to around 9:30 a.m. later on. We'll as well get into the world of understanding vaccine, and especially for our very young ones, just what it takes to understand the procedures and the vaccines that they are supposed to take, just so we can be able to protect them. So we take a look at all this as we first of all look at the papers, and then we'll get into the stories that we have compiled before I introduce the gentleman that will be helping me decipher on these very matters. We have the Daily Nation, the Standard newspaper, as well as the People Daily to look at before we delve into these other matters. The Daily Nation speaks of Ruto goes silent on state capture, 2022 poll probes, and that President's allies say the inquests are not urgent and that the head of state has more pressing issues to deal with at the moment. A story captured on page 4. Be looking to see just what they intend. Remember, when they came on board, they were hugely speaking of how they will even set up a commission to address the question of state capture in the previous regime. Just how different this will be approached at this moment when they say the president is silent on it is a question of wait and see, as captured on page 4. We'll be looking at that shortly, or expounding further into this very conversation. This has UDA retreats on poll state capture. This also as we talk of adjustments that have been done at this very time. Ruto Raila had backed plans for the information of an inquiry into the conduct of last year's elections. There are reports that President has developed cold feet, as it could be a double-edged sword. We'll be looking to hear more about that. Mr. Johnson Muthama says forming a commission of inquiry now is not urgent, but it is at the discretion of the president because he is the one being asked to form it. And so electoral malpractice, electoral justice is one of the conversations that does not leave our mouths, because we are always keen to understand how best we can make sure that we have proper processes when it comes to the election. Another story, big class divide in junior high. Well, the pioneering competency-based curriculum class has joined junior secondary school in grade 7, a story that is captured on the front page and is expounded on page 2 and 3. It is the public versus the private entities that the Nation team has, focused on the JSS lessons in select public and private schools nationwide. And what emerged is contrasting tale of two Kenyas. This is interesting to watch. In the first are public schools struggling with the usual congestion, staff shortages, lack of textbooks and infrastructure challenges. Then the other side, the private entities that have well-staffed small class sizes in new blocks of classrooms and laboratories. They also have modern teaching aids, including online material, and students are already learning French the inequality is stark, as captured there. Definitely one of the conversations that needs to be there, so that we all get to understand how best we make sure that our students get the best of education. Rebel members of parliament to form anti-Raila liberation group. That as well is a story that has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader, that is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is facing a fresh rebellion in his Nyanza backyard as alleged rebel legislators malform mention of a liberation group or the formation of a liberation group to cut him down to size with the help of President William Ruto's administration. Now the name has reportedly been coined to symbolize plans to liberate the region from the grip of the Odingas. A story captured on page 5, and we'll be looking at that very story as we continue with the broadcast. Just what is left of these rebels, and most importantly of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and the face of Azimio One Kenya. Away from it, manufacturers of cooking oil protest as importation cartels invade the sector. This as captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. It's on the front page, yes, expounded on the back page. And they say that Trade CS says the government will crack down on importers and powerful individuals that are said to be importing the commodity at preferential duty rates. We're talking about 35% duty charge on imported finished edible oil under the East African Community external tariff or regime and levy meant to discourage the process of import. Away from it, climate change taking malaria to new areas, researchers have said, and that the tiny mosquitoes which transmit malaria may as well now and in the future thrive in areas where they never existed before. This is a story captured on the front page and expounded on page 12 of the Daily Nation, as we're reminded to make sure that we take good care of ourselves, especially in these times of high temperatures that comes along with lots of health conditions. And on the question of land, taxing idle land will spur growth, senators told. The government is mulling introducing an idle land tax to discourage Kenyans from holding on to labor for speculative purposes. Housing PS Charles Hinga has told the Senate. This is a story captured on the back page and is expounded largely to look into this very matter, as of course this is brought to the Senate for more in terms of the debate for us to get to know what way forward. That is what is detailed on the front page of the Daily Nation. We have the Standard newspaper. And the Standard newspaper speaks of the main story being Ruto takes on World Bank, IMF over loans. This is on the question of inequality. The president asked lenders to lower rates of borrowing in line with climate change initiatives, since the current setup favors the West, who are the worst polluters, and punishes Africans or African countries that are climate change conscious, as captured on page 4. Remember, this is during this session at the African Union, and also speaking to Al Jazeera. And government suppliers neck deep in poverty. Contractors who do business with both the national and the county governments face uncertain times as officials delay or refuse to pay bills owed to them. That is a story that is captured also on page 6, and one of the key contractors also, we receive details of her passing on, and of course some of these crucial matters that have been highlighted by a majority of people that have worked with the county government. They say these questions of pending bills and the government's owing them so much money is one that derails them in terms of conducting the various businesses. This is captured on page 6. And on the other side, an opinion by Collins Oyu, who's one of the bosses of the education sector, says the education sector is in a mess considering first the inconsistent and unclear policies on implementation of competency-based curriculum as captured on page 18. Women and politics in Nigeria, a story on the world page. This as Nigeria is headed for an election. President Uhuru Kenyatta's choice, of course, to head the envoys that will be overseeing this process by the African Union, also instrumental as we await to see how different then the election in Nigeria would be after an 8-year term reign of Muhammadu Buhari. Why houses are becoming unaffordable. That is a story captured in the business sector. It's quite expensive for one to own a house, let alone to rent in the country. Just what could be informing this. Grab a copy and get to understand some more on that. This also as on the question of politics in Azimio all the way. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka alongside other Wiper members argue that they stick within Azimio despite what they claim is the government's effort to scuttle the opposition. And that is what is captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Briefly on what the People Daily details before we get to this point where we pick the stories or we put a recap on the stories that have been prepared by my team. Yes, we have the People Daily and speaks of the governors to share about 385 billion, and CS Njuguna Ndung'u sends new allocations to Parliament. That is amount of 40 billion less than what Council of Governors had asked for. Lamu, Elgeyo Marakwet and Isiolo to get lowest amount if members of Parliament pass revenue sharing plan. This is captured on page 4. Away from it, we also, well, still in the same, the top beneficiaries would be Nairobi, Nakuru, Turkana, Kakamega, Kilifi, Kiambu, Mandera, Bungoma, Wajir, as well as Homa Bay, and equally the figures captured or highlighted there. Must sit back in hot seat as IEBC tribunal resumes. Fireworks expected as Muchelule team starts hearing replying submissions in case against electoral commissioners. This also is a story that is captured on the front page of the People Daily, expounded on page 2 of the same. Those are the key stories on the front page. Let's shelve the papers for a moment as we pick these stories. Isiolo County has been hit by yet another wave of banditry attacks, resulting in the deaths of 3 individuals, including a police reservist. The incidents have once again brought to the fore the rampant insecurity in the North Rift and other parts of the country affected by banditry. The National Police Service and the Kenya Defence Forces have since launched a joint operation to combat banditry in 6 counties classified as disturbed. The operation, now in its 3rd day, has turned the affected areas into a battlefield as the security forces engage the armed criminals. However, the residents in the affected areas have expressed concerns of the possibility of being victimized by the men in uniform as they deal with the bandits.
A National Police reservist is among 3 people killed on Saturday at Mlango in Burat Ward, Isiolo, by bandits suspected to have come from neighboring Samburu County. The armed criminals are said to have first ambushed 2 herders and shot them before unleashing terror on the police reservist and walking away with his firearm and an unknown number of livestock. Isiolo County Commissioner Geoffrey Omoding confirmed the tragic incident and launched a manhunt for the criminals while efforts to recover the stolen firearm are underway. The attack on Saturday in Isiolo's Burat Ward has brought the total number of deaths reported in the area to 10 in the last 2 weeks. The incident has sparked outrage among local leaders and residents who are now up in arms over what they have termed as a poor response by security officers.
Samburu kwani nakuja kumaliza sisi kwa kaunti yetu. County government tunataka asaidie sisi, Samburu asuluhishe kaunti yao na sisi mali yetu akwe mwenye kujunga.
Ile amri ya rais ya kusema ya kwamba anabambana na uhalifu pamoja na waziri wa ndani wa usalama, sisi hatuoni. So isikuwe ni empty rhetoric.
Against the backdrop of the recent attack in Isiolo's Burat Ward, the National Police Service, in collaboration with the Kenya Defence Forces, launched an operation 3 days ago in 6 counties classified as disturbed. These counties include Turkana, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo, Laikipia and Samburu. The operation aims to restore security in the region and clamp down on banditry and cattle rustling activities. However, despite the ongoing operation, some areas in Samburu County continue to report banditry attacks. In Diki Village, Malaso Division, armed bandits raided the area, making away with 30 goats. The continued attacks have raised concerns among some quarters over the effectiveness of the operation.
Wale watu waliua askari, wale watu waliua watoto, na wamezoea kuchoma manyumba, na wamezoea kufanya vituko na kuchukua mapikipiki ya watu. Tufuate watu mpaka tuhakikishe wale machifu hao watu wanatoka makwao, waseme hawa ni watoto wa wazee gani.
And the defense forces should not go back to the barrack. Let them remain here. Let them come and do the roads. Let them come and do the hospitals. Let them come and do the schools.
The government has declared a total war against bandits, and the operation aims to restore security and clamp down banditry and cattle rustling activities. Even as the operation intensifies, locals in the affected areas are already feeling the heat, with most towns remaining deserted and minimal activities being witnessed. The heightened security measures have disrupted daily lives, with many residents forced to stay indoors due to fear of being caught in the crossfire.
Na hata wakati huu ambapo serikali inafanya kazi, ombi letu ni kwamba wafuatilie wale wajangili, lakini wahakikishe kwamba raia, the innocent people will be also protected.
Inafaa serikali ifata uangalie watu na wengine, si hata wanaangalia Marakwet na Waturkana ni kama na Pokot na Lemo peke yake.
Watu wetu sana wa West Pokot wameathirika sana kwa hao wanabiashara.
The Law Society of Kenya has now issued a 3-day ultimatum to the government to repeal a Gazette notice ordering deployment of KDF to the banditry-prone zones in the country, or head to court for what they termed as a breach of the constitution by not seeking the approval of parliament to send military to the region. Muige William, TV 47.
And just days after some leaders from the Azimio coalition expressed their willingness to work with the government, Wiper Party leader Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka has accused President William Ruto of attempting to split the Azimio coalition by what he said was Wiper Party members. Our reporter Willie Dennis Njeru with more details.
Speaking after a 2-day consultative meeting at a Naivasha hotel, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has said that his party remains undeterred and will not allow retrogressive politics.
They have systematically tried to erode all the gains of multi-party democracy and our Constitution 2010 and take this nation back to one-party state. We, the leaders of the Wiper Democratic Movement, want to emphasize that we will not allow this country to retrogress to the dark days of the one-party state.
According to Kalonzo, some Wiper members were called to State House but declined the offer. He also cited inflation, high unemployment and insecurity as major issues affecting the country, adding that the Kenya Kwanza pledges remain a dream.
Today, the Mamamboga cannot pay rent. The boda can barely fuel their motorbikes. Our farmers have maize rotting in silos. Yet this government is hell-bent on feeding Kenyans with GMOs. The average mwananchi is being overtaxed and overburdened. Unemployment is on the rise. Kenyans are losing their lives to senseless violence, and the state of insecurity is alarming. Enough is enough.
Kalonzo expressed his party's full support for the ongoing Azimio la Umoja People's Barazas across the country, also announcing that the party will soon begin a national-wide mass recruitment of its new members.
We know, of course, there must be checks and balances. We are not oblivious to that fact. But overall, because this movement has been unjudged so far by Kenyans as the most disciplined movement, we want to maintain that position.
The consultative meeting brought together all Wiper Party elected and nominated leaders. Kalonzo urged his party members to remain united and focused on their goals, despite what he called attempts to divide them.
The executive has made many attempts to divide the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. They have openly used public institutions and public resources to entice individual members, quote unquote, in the name of development, to break ranks with their political parties. Solomon, no.
Reporting for TV 47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
To health, the Ministry of Health has received a call to double its efforts in tackling the spread of a new cholera variant that was first reported on October the 8th, 2022. The director of the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, Sam Kariuki, has warned that the new variant is resistant to antibiotics, making it more difficult to treat. Kariuki has recommended an increase in the distribution of oral cholera vaccines to prevent further spread of the disease.
A new variant of cholera, identified as 61 Vibrio cholerae 01 Ogawa serotype, was first reported on October 8, 2022, during a wedding festival in Limuru Sub-County, Kiambu County. Following this, the Ministry of Health issued an alert a month later, highlighting areas at high risk, including Nairobi, Kiambu, Uasin Gishu, Nakuru, Kajiado, Murang'a, Wajir, Garissa, and the Dadaab refugee camp. As of January 14, 2023, the World Health Organization, WHO, reported 3,970 cases and 70 deaths due to the new cholera variant. However, the director of the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, Sam Kariuki, has warned that more measures need to be taken as the new variant is still persisting in the country.
Among the clinical cases of cholera that we have investigated, and these are close to nearly 200 positive cases that we isolated Vibrio cholera, which is the bacteria that causes the disease cholera. We found a large number of them, nearly 75% of them, having resistance to commonly available antimicrobials.
A recent research conducted by KEMRI, which focused on Mukuru settlements, revealed that the large population in the area and lack of adequate resources are some of the major bottlenecks impeding the fight against cholera.
We have in the environment cases of Vibrio cholera contaminating the environment, and then, of course, with the right environment for transmission, that goes to the human beings or the people around the households, the communities, and then transmission then begins in that small way and then spreads throughout the community, and of course, resulting in a big outbreak.
Our visit to Mukuru Kwenjenga in Nairobi County painted a grim picture of a disaster waiting to happen. The sewage system in the area is clogged, with dirty water stagnating, while residents sell and cook foodstuffs along the road.
Hapa sasa Mukuru Kwenjenga kuna sewage na hizo pipe zimepita hapa chini, so zikivunjika hiyo maji ya sewage inaingia ndani, ndio inaleta hiyo kipindupindu.
Watu wanajaribu make sure kwamba maji wanatumia ile ni maji safi, na vile unaona wanapika kwa njia, wamehamasishwa kupitia kwa ofisi za chief kwamba wa make sure wamehifadhi usafi, na kile tu tunaweza si wale viongozi ambao wako kwa ground ni kwamba waimarishe mambo ya mitaro na pipe to water.
We can be able to put in resources, ensure that at household level, at community level, our wash facilities are improved, and then access to this vaccine for the vulnerable population is ensured. I can tell you that we will have taken cholera outbreaks more seriously because we haven't done that before, and we will be able to prevent future outbreaks.
On the 11th of February 2023, the Ministry of Health launched the oral cholera vaccine in Tana River County with the aim of reaching 2.2 million people. However, Health Cabinet Secretary Dr. Susan Akumicha stated that the fight against cholera requires concerted efforts from all stakeholders.
On health matters, after many complaints about theft of drugs in public health facilities in Nairobi County Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has promised to deal mercilessly with a number of suspects to serve as an example to the rest. This comes even as residents of Lakisama complain of lack of a public health facility in the area. Collins Lusweti with that.
During a church service in Lakisama area, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja spoke about the challenges facing the health sector, specifically the issue of theft of drugs and non-pharmaceuticals supplied to public health facilities. Governor Sakaja expressed concern about the impact of this theft on the provision of healthcare services to the public and promised to deal decisively with suspects involved in the theft.
Atikuiba madawa ya mwananchi. Kesho mtaona kuna wale ambao nimeshawapata. There will be an example. Kuna wale ambao nimewapata wakiba dawa, unaenda hospitali unatibiwa, unaambiwa hapana, hii dawa iko, enda huko kwa chemist. Na chemist ni yake.
The governor has reassured the public that no public health facility in the city is currently experiencing a shortage of drugs, urging Nairobi residents not to be deceived by anyone into purchasing drugs outside of the public health facilities.
Kwa miaka minne Nairobi ilikuwa ipati madawa. Juzi nimezindua madawa of 244 million shillings. Imeenda kwa kila hospitali. Ukienda hapo Mathare North Hospital utapata madawa iko. Ukienda Mama Lucy madawa imejaa sasa.
Residents of Lakisama in Nairobi have expressed concerns over the lack of a public health facility in their area, making it difficult for them to access essential health services. According to reports, the residents are forced to travel long distances to access facilities, which are often congested and understaffed.
Sisi tulikosea Mungu wapi? Bila kisama. Kama kila kitu hakuna.
On free feeding program for public schools, the governor says all is set for learners to start receiving free lunch.
Ndio maana tumesema na tayari tumeanza program ya kujenga jikoni kwa kila constituency, mega kitchen, ambayo itaserve watoto wetu chakula. Nutritious meal, 650 grams balanced diet. Isiwe ati watoto wanaambiwa waende wakule lunchtime na warudi shule. They are missing 1/3 of their education.
He also took a swipe to those advising President Ruto to ignore areas perceived as opposition strongholds when it comes to service delivery, saying the president needs to work for all Kenyans regardless of political affiliations.
Kuchagua ni haki yako, but baada ya kuchagua hata rais wetu tunasema afanye kazi na kila mtu. Kuna wale wanamwambia asifanye kazi na watu wengine, you're misleading the president. Rais wetu ni rais kila mahali, hata Kisumu, hata Homa Bay, hata Nakuru, hata Nyeri.
Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
Despite the government's efforts to roll out universal healthcare coverage across all 47 counties in Kenya, some parts of the country are still facing significant challenges in accessing health services. This has been the case for internal displaced people living in caves in Mount Elgon constituency, Bungoma County. Our reporter Wanji Sosten visited the area to determine just how the displaced people cope with the health challenges in the absence of adequate healthcare services.
Mount Elgon constituency is one of 9 constituencies in Bungoma County, bordering the eastern part of the neighboring country of Uganda. At Chepiok Ward, residents of Kamachei village are struggling to adapt to a new way of life after being evicted from the forest. The journey to the village is marked by steep hills and slopes, with many residents now living in caves. The environment in the village serves as a stark reminder of the challenges faced by those who have been displaced from their homes in the forest. Many of the residents here, particularly women, faced challenges accessing health services, especially during pregnancy, due to the difficult terrain and living conditions.
Hapa tuna mtu tu hata hiyo nyumba yangu hiyo ile alisaa Alhamisi Juma yuko hapa ndani, alisalia hapa kwa pango. Hatuna watu ya kubeba, hatuna watu ya kufanya nini, mpaka tu Mungu mwenyewe anasimama.
Nilipokuwa nikienda kule hospitalini, hali ikawa ngumu barabarani, nikajifungulia barabarani.
Tumekuwa na ugumu sana sisi wa mama aswa na watoto. Hata vile wanaenda shule hivi, wanaenda kwa njia ile haifai. Kama saa hizi sasa hata watoto wetu mnapoona hivi, wenye walikuwa sehemu hii, wengi wao hawaendi shule.
Situation ya kujifungulia katika pango
It's a terrible situation. Na hakika ingawaje alipata ile preventive measures zote, but bado tunasema ya kwamba mama hajajifungulia katika zahanati.
The environment they live in has caused the spread of infectious diseases, and due to challenges of movement in the area, accessing medical services has remained a hard nut to crack.
Tunaomba tu serikali ongetusaidia tunasi tukitoka kwa nyumba. Hata tukipata tu mahali pa nyumba tu peke yake. Mahali tunafunga tu mlango. Hata tukitoka tukienda kutafuta chenye tunakula.
Tulitoka ng'ambo hiyo ndio tukakuja hapa. Hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Lakini saidia sisi. Wekea sisi suluhu ya kudumu.
According to the residents, the lack of proper infrastructure in the area has resulted in a surge in teen pregnancies. In one particular cave, a 15-year-old girl has recently become a mother.
Kwenda shule nikakutana na kijana mwingine akanidanganya. Akandanganya tu hivyo mpaka tukaenda mpaka vile nilipata mimba ya huyu mtoto. Sasa mimi naomba tu ningepata mwenye ananirudisha shule niendelee na masomo ingekuwa vizuri.
Despite the efforts by the county government of Bungoma to try and improve the health sector, the residents are urging the government to build hospitals in the area.
Wana deserve to get better services. Tunaomba tu ya kwamba kama county government ingeweza kuwafikiria.
On the other hand, the Special Programs Office in the county has promised to introduce Linda Mama special cards for pregnant women in the area to improve their living standards. This is according to Ms. Karen Wanyonyi, the Director of Special Programs in the Office of Bungoma Governor.
Linda Mama ni bure. Unaweza kujifungua hospitalini na hautaitishwa gharama yoyote. Ningependa kuwasihi kwa unyenyekevu kwa wale ambao ni wajawazito, najua hali ni ngumu, lakini tafadhali tujifungulie hospitalini.
Karen was forced to take one of the teen mothers in the area to another place for care and medication.
Sababu msichana wetu amejifungua siku 2, sitaruhusu huyo mtoto walale hapa kwa hii maeneo. Tutaniruhusu niende na mtoto na mama, kikishe mama na mtoto wako waangaliwe wakuwe sawa.
Wanji Sostin, TV47, Bungoma.
Now, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms has been tasked with fine-tuning the second progress report that touches on institutions of higher learning before making a final report that is expected to be submitted to President William Ruto later next month. The team has been urged to rework the findings.
The Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms has been engaging with Kenyans for several months now to gather their views on the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. Recently, the group presented its findings to President William Ruto, focusing on reforms related to technical and vocational education and training (TVET), governance and financing in university education, as well as teacher education. The team consolidated views from education stakeholders and the public and came up with a raft of recommendations, all geared towards improving the quality of education in institutions of higher learning. According to the report, there has been a significant increase in the number of students enrolling in TVET institutions. In 2015, the enrollment was 142,000, and by 2021, it had risen to almost 500,000. However, the report also noted that the increase in enrollment has not matched the budgetary allocation in the TVET sector.
When we reached the KCSE examination, the number that qualified for university were 173,000, C+ and above. And I said here that in the year 2021, the 145,000 who qualified and got admitted to our various universities, 3,000 did not take up their positions in universities. They opted to go into TVET institutions. So what we are saying is that yes, there can be that number, but again, it is optional. One can be able to realize the importance of TVET in institutions and the technical skills that he or she is going to acquire and opt to go into a diploma course in one of the TVET institutions.
On universities, one of the recommendations that stood out was regarding the appointment of chancellors, which is currently deemed as cumbersome in comparison to other countries. The report highlights that 28 universities do not have chancellors, and stakeholders are advocating for university councils to be given full mandate to recruit vice chancellors instead of relying on the Public Service Commission. The team has been directed to fine-tune the report, which is expected to be presented to the President next month. The team presented the first progress report on the competency-based curriculum on 1st December 2022. It dealt with issues on basic education with a focus on transition of grade 6 to grade 7. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
All right, the war against illegal alcohol in Kisumu County may have found a solution thanks to the innovative efforts of a Deputy Commissioner, Darwin Orina, who has been serving as Deputy County Commissioner in Upper Nyakach Division for a year and a half, has started a project aimed at combating the illicit brew trade by making bricks using sand soil. Orina was moved to act after seeing how locals in the area had opportunities to feed themselves and offer employment by making bricks, but instead turned to selling illicit brew.
As the country grapples with the rising number of cases involving the sale and consumption of illicit brew, Kisumu County faces a particular dire situation. In Nyakach Sub-County, for example, the prevalence of the illicit brew is a perfect illustration of the challenges that the country is working to overcome. One creative solution to the challenges of illicit brew sales in Kisumu County comes from the Deputy County Commissioner Darwin Orina. Orina recognized the need to address the root cause of the issue and develop an innovative approach that involves the community in creating and selling sand bricks.
Tuliona vijana wengi wako idle, kuna pombe haramu, na tukaona ili kuwatoa kwa changamoto ya pombe haramu lazima tuanzishe project kidogo yenye italeta vijana pamoja.
The project involves using locally available materials to create sand bricks, which are then burned and sold for construction purposes.
Sababu hii biashara haihitaji pesa yoyote, haihitaji elimu, inahitaji tu nguvu na labda ujuzi ambao ni ya kawaida tu.
According to Orina, the Sand Bricks project has the potential to create job opportunities for young people who may otherwise be involved in the sale and production of illicit brews.
Wananchi wamepokea hii swala kwa uzito sana na wamefurahia, manake ni watoto wao watafaidika.
He says the project aims to support more than 20,000 families and provide employment for more than 100,000 young people.
Area hii ni nzuri sana kwa matafari. Tuone kama zaidi ya vijana 100 wanaweza jiunga na hii biashara ambao ni majirani hapa. Tuone kama inaweza kuwasaidia mahali.
Already some of the residents have started to embrace the project, saying it has helped them a lot because they can make bricks without using a lot of resources and get profits in return.
Tusaidia sababu sasa tunaweza kupata mahali ya kufanyia kazi na kupata angalau pesa kidogo ya kujisaidia nyumbani, na ukisave unapeleka shuleni.
Despite the potential benefits of the Sand Brick project, there are still some challenges that need to be addressed. One such challenge is the lack of readily available markets for the bricks, which has left some stranded with their products. Reporting for TV47 from Kisumu County, I am Onesmus Baraka.
All right, and yes, we get to this very conversation at a time when we're just discussing on some of the key things that we are to touch on this morning. And I'm delighted to have two gentlemen already on set. One of them should be joining us shortly for a very important conversation. Definitely, we'll be taking a look at the talks of politics in the country, but most importantly, where we're headed, what's key, and as I have started by saying, is on the high cost of living and how the hustler now feels a little bit shortchanged. But then again, we are focused on seeing just what the Kenya Kwanza government has in store for us. So much has played out in the country, and we're looking forward to, just articulate some of these matters. It looks like the conversation on the change of the constitution is as good as silent. That we will confirm from Professor Fred Ogola, who joins us this morning, as well as to how far they are with the collection of signatures. I know it can be quite a task, but it is possible because we've seen, Kenyans signing into some of these before. successfully to a point where we have gotten, these adjustments. But then again, what is left of this one that is here, definitely looking at how the politicals are playing their cards at this very moment. Some in support of Azimio One Kenya Alliance, others not. I mean, all this coined towards a better Kenya or, growth in terms of democracy. But just how well are we doing this? Benji Ndolo, political strategist, is with us this morning as well to decipher on this. And Professor Fred Ogola, who is a governance and a political expert, definitely will be having Ahmed Kada joining us shortly for the very same. But to start us off, these two gentlemen are able to do the same. So, gentlemen, we have the papers this morning, the Daily Nation, the Standard newspaper, as well as the People Daily. While we take a look at some of the stories that have been captured on the same, I think it's only fair that we try to articulate some that might not have been captured. Professor, how far are we the collection of signatures?
Yeah, Linda, as of last week when we checked our, when I did all the reports, because we are doing it across the county, we are done 459,000 and a few hundreds of signatures, which means that by the end of this month, we shall cross the half mark. But actually, what I'm seeing from the digital collection platform, I want to present more than needed. Maybe between 3 to 4 million signatures by June this year.
Signatures for?
For amendment of the Constitution.
Constitution.
And
they're doing that?
Yes.
Oh,
Operation Dogatuze. We actually collected.
I didn't know that.
Mombasa Coast region is doing very well. Tata Taveta, Mombasa, Kwale, Lamu, Tana River, they are doing very well. Nairobi is also doing extremely well. Where I've not explored too much is Western Kenya. Of course, that's where Baba comes from, and I believe that maybe, if at all, he wants to help support this, if he finds it interesting to change the constitution, he can come to us. I have not also explored too much about Rift Valley. Central, I've done some interest in Central, like Meru, Tharaka Nithi. So I am getting into Central because this thing has to start with the base. I'm also trying to see whether people are getting buy-in. But I can tell you what, Linda, is that people are seeing that the constitution was done, but there's no constitutionalism, which means that the things which were intended to be delivered by amending the 2010 constitution, it gave a good legal framework, but a very poor, if you like, almost immoral governance framework. Because can you imagine they talk about the issue of trying to remove corruption? And has it happened? No, meaning that there was no governance mechanism to enforce that. Some are telling me you can steal $7.5 billion in daylight and no one can take you anywhere. In fact, they return them to you.
But that's not the constitution.
Meaning that there is no governance mechanism to people to book.
But now the clamor for change, just how then does it bring?
Linda, you'll allow me to respond because I'm actually shocked.
Definitely.
I didn't know all this. I see Fred every week, but I didn't know they're trying to amend the constitution.
Yes, Operation
This is absurd.
Yeah,
no.
You think it's not necessary?
Protecting
Benji?
devolution and amending the constitution are two different things.
Okay.
This conversation about amending the constitution is peculiar at best. The former prime minister attempted to amend the constitution and did what Kina Fred are doing very successfully. Just the other day, I don't know how many signatures were they able to collect.
They managed.
They collected enough signatures. Yes.
Yeah, they collected a lot of signatures.
Yes,
they actually attempted another time when I was still working with them under something called Okoa Kenya, which was also thrown out. What is so perturbing is, why do you want to amend the constitution? I've never understood that.
You think it's okay?
Everybody knows we have a very good constitution in Kenya.
Don't you think it would have been fair?
We
for you
haven't
to read the
done
proposals,
implementation of the constitution.
Which is
There's
actually
no
what
political will. There's no political will. We haven't done implementation of the constitution. How do you then change what you have not even exploited, what you've not implemented? We don't have political will.
With the numerous court battles, Benji, over some issues that we have seen, some of the proposals that you've listened to, you still believe that this constitution is perfect?
It's a very good constitution. It's unbelievable. How can we spend so much time and resources for the last maybe, when was Okoa Kenya? Maybe almost 10 years?
Which resources did you spend from? Let me put this in perspective.
Why?
Let me just put this perspective. The US Constitution, which now is among the most advanced constitution, when they implemented the first one, they discovered in 2 years that they are wrong constitution, they amended it.
Yeah.
India, under 1 year. South Africa, under 6 months. Ours is 13 years. So by saying we have implemented 13 years, the question is, why have we not implemented it rightly and 13 years? Means there's something wrong.
There's no way.
And then secondly, we were told when we are enforcing the 2010 constitution that it was 80% good and 20% poisonous. So we have drank poison for 13 years. No, it's a fact. This is a record. This is a record. We are being told. And let me tell you what, Linda. Given the 2080 rule, the real value of the constitution needs into untapping that 20% which remains. Let me tell you, for example, Linda, and we were all here. Can you imagine it was possible for the current president to behave like he is a deputy president who is not in government, yet he was opposing his own boss, who was Uhuru Kenyatta, and that he got away with it? Can you imagine that somebody was a governor, now he's a senator, and he is sitting in Senate reviewing the money which was stolen in his county?
That's a mistake.
So then he's saying that's a mistake. So
that's a mistake. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the mistake happens is, Linda, the small mistake that happened and I was part of constitution making and a Katiba Sasa campaign of the National Civil Society Congress. I was part of that effort. One of the mistakes that we all made was the assumption, Linda, that decency will precede governance. Decency. That, for example, if a governor is impeached and removed, he will not even think of running again. That if you serve 2 terms as governor, you would be insane, like Professor Kivutha Kibwana was trying to do, to try to come back as a Senate. Why would you do that? That if you run, even now there were peculiar discussions, very unfortunate discussions, very uncouth, very indecent discussions around, Uhuru is not old, he has served 2 terms, what bars him from coming back as a deputy president? It was championed by people like Atwoli, and a lot of these older folks don't understand constitutionalism, don't understand the spirit of the constitution, don't understand the ideals, don't understand Article 10. A lot of, Linda, believe you me, I am one of the biggest defenders and implementers of the Constitution of Kenya.
So Linda,
so in this case,
the fact that he has
what it is.
Let me put this into perspective.
But that doesn't warrant
an Linda,
amendment.
What we want to move away from as leaders of Operation Dogatuzi, to go into personalizing and putting individuals in to bring what's called institutionalism and functions of government. Because when we put them in place, then we won't say Uhuru is young. No, we have the law, we have the constitution, so he has to do it within the law and the constitution. Linda, the time we will go there, we will avoid these things of personality cult and personalizing issues. We'll just look at the law. And even if you look at another one, which is also very, very scathing. If you go to Tharaka Nithi as a county, the governor, the senator, the women rep, all the MCAs are UDA. Now, you tell me, if money is stolen, or if something goes wrong in Tharaka Nithi, who will oversight the other? The leader of minority, the leader of majority is still UDA. They have UDA caucuses. Who will defend the rights of the people? And then that's why we are introducing that by saying that we do not just want leader of opposition in the national government, but if you are as a governor and you become second, why don't you become leader of opposition or even leader of minority? So what I'm trying to say here is that there was no framework even to oversight anybody. Look at Linda. Let me give you numbers now.
You cannot legislate morality.
Yes.
In numbers, you cannot legislate morality.
In numbers, it can be done. In numbers, 2.8 billion shillings was stolen in Kisii in name of ghost workers. I've done analysis and finding that is 35% of the total budget that has ever gone to Kisii. If I extrapolate this nationally, that is 840 billion shillings that has been disbursed since we had a county, because we have disbursed 2.8 trillion shillings to the county government.
Who was the governor?
35% of that is 840 billion shillings in ghost workers. This is a practice across all counties. How do you oversee that? So we are coming with a framework on which a better ways on which money can be oversighted. And that's why the slogan of Operation Gatuzi is Hekima Mashinani, Rasilimali Mashinani, Matunda Mashinani. Because we want to have local wisdom. Look at counties like the coastal counties, that's why they like Operation Gatuzi. They are the most resource-rich counties, and they are the poorest counties, if you like. They have now a minister in terms of Minister for Blue Economy. They have never seen it. The land cases that are taking place in coastal province, they have gotten more number of ministers of lands, more than any other county or region. Why are their land issues not being done? Which means we have these legal mechanisms, but there are no governance mechanism to make this happen.
Okay.
And Linda, the issues are so many. In fact, if there were not many, they won't face it. Then last but not least, we don't, let's ignore the issue of the political guys like Raila and Uhuru trying to amend the constitution. This is the first civil society-driven process to amend the constitution, so it's for the people. And this is the best way to get it right for the people. Politicians have gotten what they wanted. Now the people have not gotten, and that's why we're saying if it is people-driven, for the first time at least, the Wananchi, which are Kenyans, the Wanjiku, will get what the constitution needs to give them.
Okay. Linda, first of all, thank you for having us this morning. Many a time, unlike my friend here, my background and training, because many times I'm asked, oh, Ndolo, I saw you on this, you said this, you tweeted this. Are you a political scientist? Are you this? My background and training is business, management, and marketing. I'm a marketer. I have a very big meeting this morning with a multinational, very big, on a very big project that will create a lot of jobs. But you see, I do a lot of this because I'm a patriot, out of the concern, out of the deep care for this country. What Prof is talking about here, and we have so many professors in Kenya, so I'm not even sure he's a professor of what. I'm sure he's well-read on many, many things. But we're in a country where so many people are professors, and we have such little invention. We're lagging behind for a reason. We are a typical third world country with so much potential. I'm happy to see we are now about to do light rail, to embark on light rail in conjunction with the with the UK government, something I've pushed. I have pushed this thing so hard, Linda, in my own private capacity. I even did a route proposal. Can you imagine? Start at here, start in Syokimau, go this way, connect here, go to Jogoo Road, etc. And it's now that I used to tell Kidero all the time, my friend, former Governor Kidero, Bwana, you're a wealthy man, do light rail. I feel that many times, Linda, we embark on misadventures. I feel that Kenyans feel very hopeless, very disappointed. You look at these headlines on a daily basis, you look at the looting. My question would be, who was the governor of Kisii? Who was the governor of Kisii? And and who was supervising that governor? Who was supervising Governor Ongwae? Who was he giving money and political support? So he raises very good questions on looting, but I've never heard Honorable Raila raising these kinds of, and he has leverage, he has leeway, he has people, he has media, he has meetings. I have never had him forcefully calling on governors for accountability. I've never had the Honorable Raila putting the Council of Governors to task on accountability, on money being looted. Ghost workers, these are all techniques from the former, local county governments. This is nothing new, and this is not anything that can be changed by continuous legislation and by amending the constitution. What is there is we must be blind to party lines when it comes to corruption. I cannot say Linda is corrupt, but because she's in my party, let's let her. I mean, this is absurd. You cannot say that the speaker cannot oversight the majority leader because no, I cannot tolerate corruption because Gachagua is my boss. So he's my boss. We're in the same party, so I tolerate corruption. What are you preaching here? This is not acceptable.
It is one thing to say. Benji, it is one thing to say, but is that what is happening in the country?
You see, what we have lacked, Linda, such a good question. What we have lacked is we have not you know, been able to put together the political hygiene. You understand?
And so that means even if
And
we were
the
to amend the
culture.
constitution,
The
if we
country's
have
not a
not addressed the
constitution.
morality
Switzerland,
aspect.
the UK, Britain, for example.
Linda,
you don't need a constitution
Benji is falling
to
into
guide you.
what I've just.
But how can you say, Benji asked a question, can you legislate,
Morality.
morality in this case, and you say it is possible, just how?
No, but you see, what's happening is that if we stop the governor from Uasin Gishu from becoming a senator, we have done something. Because you see, when he's sitting here, and all the reviews, all the financial misappropriation which was coming from Uasin Gishu is coming, and he's sitting with his colleagues who are fellow senators. Do you know you cannot betray? I'm telling you, it's difficult to betray fellow senators.
If it's a fair process,
so it's a fair process.
If it's a fair process and the governor goes back to the people to seek mandate as senator,
yes.
Well, as Benji says, well, morality would dictate otherwise. But then perhaps he's done so well for his people, and his people feel like, you know what, at the level of the Senate, he would even
like,
do
for
better.
example,
Why not?
One legislation, Linda, we say that if you are a deputy president, you should not be allowed to contest for presidency immediately your boss leaves office. The reason being,
you have to
you have to focus on serving until the term ends.
Yeah.
William Ruto campaigned for 5 years during Uhuru's term. In fact, Uhuru said, please come help me fix the economy. You're on top of cars. He even disagreed with the president policy when the president says that the reason why the economy is bad, cost of living fuel is up, is because of Ukraine and the Russia war, and he disagreed. Now he's coming back to confirm to us that why we're having bad cost of living is because of Ukraine and Russia. So we want people to serve. Like now, we want Rigathi Gachagua to serve William Ruto faithfully, wholeheartedly, for 5 years, earning a 10-year salary as deputy president. Not taking 5 years to serve him, the other 5 years to campaign. So this brings decorum, because in a country where it cannot be left to individuals to do their part, then you have to bring laws.
All right, allow us to take a short break, gentlemen. Allow us to take a short break.
The DP alijipanga from day one.
All right, after this break.
TV47, the home of untold stories. Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Kwa muonekano wao, hauwezi ukajua walichopitia. Kwa sura zao, wanaweza kukaa wameng'aa, lakini nyuma ya hao kuna historia na stori. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mtuku.
Sona Moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona Moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona Moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari. You're watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast on set. Professor Fred Ogola, as well as political strategist Benji Ndolo. And yes, Professor, make it very brief as we perhaps move to a different conversation. And there's been that general feel, Benji. I don't know why you are of the idea, perhaps maybe because you say you're amongst the few who are crafters of it, but acknowledging that there are a couple of things that really are not in order, and that Kenyans are not good enough to, uphold morality. Don't you think then that you really need to?
Here's a big one. And I don't write the newspaper.
And wrote at Thika level 5
and the same obtains,
and most of the hospitals across.
And the same obtains in Machakos level 5. The same obtains in Kangundo. I can tell you by name, even workers. There's a guy in Kangundo Hospital. called Wambua. When you get there to the public hospital, I had a small dog bite, so I went to see how the public facility works just a few weeks ago. When you get there, he receives you in a warm and friendly manner. He shows you around. They get you to where you need to go. But guess what, Daktari? They don't have painkiller. Sometimes they have salary arrears. And he can't speak on television. And you know, they work dedicatedly. Their hospital is quite clean, by the way. And they say, you know, talk to the governor. Governor Mutua came here, now he's not a governor, now it's Wavinya Ndeti. This is the reality of that Kenyans are living through. Hospitals that are not functional. Talk about universal health care, led by no other than the wealthiest man in Africa, former President Uhuru. Our intellectuals cannot even connect issues. We want now to go and amend the constitution. Kenyans are hungry. They're jobless. I was talking about the light rail project coming. One of the things I heard DP Gachagua pointing out is that it will immediately create 5,000 jobs. Upon implementation and maintenance and all of that, it will create another 5,000 jobs. Those are such urgent discussions. But then to some political factions, because they're so pained at forever losing politically, those are boring discussions. I mean, Linda, what do we do, my dear friend? Here we are, a lot of Kenyans are even going to bed hungry. Do we amend the constitution so it can rain as well? When we have wasted water, when we have wasted resources, you know, when we have not built the right kind of gabions and dams? I looked at news reports yesterday. Large swaths of land in this republic, people are just walking 35 kilometers with children looking for a meal. You know, it is true. Animals dying all over the place. This is, and we are sitting here in Nairobi in air conditioning.
And I mean, I started by asking this morning, will Kenyans then be patient until 2027? And if not, then what are they bound to do?
Linda, let me tell you what. Benji is throwing out very big words, but you see, for me, I'm an economist. I don't believe on throwing big words on emotions. I believe on something which is evidence-based. To tell you the truth, why we are amending the constitution, do you know, Linda, now, ask all governors, after you know the law is clear on how much money should be disbursed. 15% of audited revenue to all counties should be disbursed. Now, are they being disbursed? Governors need to write a special letter, called priority letter to government, treasury, try to vouch for it, just trying to plead to be given money. Is that something wrong with the former president, or it is happening in the current administration as well? So what I'm trying to say is, if we can follow the law and constitutionalism, we start ignoring the issue leaders. Linda, does it not break your heart when your member of parliament goes to State House because he's telling you he's going to look for development? Does it not break your heart when a governor says, I must work with the president so that we can be able to get development for my people? Yet the intention of devolution was exactly that you should have your resources on the ground, rasilmali mashinani. You should have your resources on the ground. Use your own context, local context, to grow your economy. Now, if money has been disbursed in Machakos for healthcare, and healthcare has been devolved in Machakos, and the money is going to Machakos, why should someone come from Machakos to meet the president in State House? In fact, you go to White House. How many governors in the US go to White House to get development projects for their countries? Now, if Americans have got it right, can we give up on Kenya? Linda, the worst thing to be without is hope. And if Benji is a leader, let him withdraw the thing of being pessimistic. Let him be optimistic, but optimism that has got action. For me, I've done something. What is he doing? I've put my money, I've put my time and resources in time to tell people what has to happen. Even if they tell me I'll fail, I've done my part. What part has he done?
Let's acknowledge the presence of Ahmed Kada, a political analyst and blogger. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us this morning. And we're talking about the high cost of living and some of the things that Kenyans would need to do, whether they would be patient until 2027. In his own opinion, Prof says that, a clamor for constitutional amendment is very, very important because a couple of things might be addressed therein. Benji, on the other hand, says there's no point of us talking about the changes on the constitution as at now, their priorities to look at. Some of these priorities, then the Deputy President comes out to say that this Right Honorable Raila Odinga calling of mass action, are some of the things that are actually stalling government activities. Then we ask ourselves, just who is to listen to, who is to trust? Are Kenyans disgruntled to a level where they will come out to act?
Thank you, Linda, for having me. First, I would like to appreciate the fact that, the high cost of living did not come with the Kenya Kwanza government. The droughts did not come with the Kenya Kwanza government.
But banditry attacks as well.
Yeah, but it's something they need to address. You have to remember also very well that it's barely 6 months since His Excellency William Ruto has been sworn into office. And people around, who have been opposing all over are talking like he has been there for the last 2 years or 3 years. William Ruto has not even read his first budget, which will be done around sometime June. And I think from there is when we can say, and this needs to be done, this not to be done. This government is still working on the budget of the previous regime. And it's also important to appreciate the fact that, the people calling for mass action have not yet healed in terms politically, because it's like, when the election happened and His Excellency William Ruto was declared the winner, maybe people didn't get the chance to vent out because they never expected to lose. And sometimes, when you go into a contest, it's very important that you have to be prepared for any eventuality. Unless it's unnatural to believe that you are going to a contest and you expect 100% outcome. When you have that kind of assumption, you're always bound to have disappointment, and that's what exactly happened.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the issue of mass action and all that, I don't really think it's necessary, because why will there be a mass action? Because we are a constitutional country, we are a country of laws. We had an election, the election happened, a winner was declared, people went to court, from the court, the Supreme Court gave its verdict on that, and then from there,
back to the street.
Yes, and now we're back to the street. It doesn't add up, and to be honest, this government should be given a chance to serve, because I don't think the opposition is very fair, because they should hold accountable, yes, but the government of the day should be given an opportunity to exercise. Now, I caught up with my brother, the prof, saying that even in America, people don't go to the White House for development. There's a difference between working with the government of the day and being in supporting of everything. What the MPs who went to the State House did was to have a mechanism to work with the government of the day. That don't necessarily mean they have moved party-wise, but we're in a situation whereby, unless the party leader of the Azimio coalition, or in this case ODM, for me right now Azimio is ODM, yes, and I can say that without any fear of contradiction. Yeah, because all other parties have walked out of Azimio. They are one way or the other working with the Kenya Kwanza government. So when my brother there says people don't go to the White House, Americans for development, what happens if today Raila wakes up and goes to State House? Will they stop going, those who have been going today? Or will they continue with them? When he went to have the handshake, Aisha Juma was kicked out of ODM for working with the Tanga movement at then. Yeah? Why? Because the party leader didn't sanction. Yet, on the other hand, he was working with the... So, there's a lot of hypocrisy and contradiction within what's stolen his victory.
Okay,
so, there's a lot of contradiction.
Is there no point for these people then to be worried? The Kenya Kwanza side, or perhaps the government, because then if these are people who've just been elected in and a different party and coalition and they shift allegiance, is this not the height of hypocrisy that you speak of? And that perhaps then the current government or the government of the day should be a little bit worried. And genuinely, Prof could be having facts, or it's obvious then that, really, if the Constitution protects the common mwananchi, then there's no point really for these leaders to go out there in the name of we're in search of development. I would rather they go out there and say that we are friends and we are just friends,
yes,
and we're just visiting the president as friends, as opposed to saying that, we're going to get development for the people.
In
we
fact,
all know what members of parliament are supposed to do.
It is the media, it is the media that framed the story that way. Yeah?
Is it the media?
It is the media that framed the story that way.
They said it.
These members of parliament, these members of parliament went to to State House, having realized that, right now their party or their party leader is involved in a lot of political activities.
Yeah.
Yet these members of parliament are sober enough to decide that, look, we want to work for the people. It's 5 years is just too short a period to get involved in a lot of unnecessary madness here and there politically. So they decided to work for the people. And
what do you mean work for the people? And especially when we're referring to members of parliament.
Let me answer it philosophically.
And we know what it is that they're supposed to do.
Let me answer what he means.
Yes.
I was looking at, I like reading a lot. I was looking at an excerpt of how Singapore got to where it is. Because Singapore used as a blueprint part of what sessional paper number 10, refined later by people like Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, written by Tom Mboya and the likes of Barack Obama Sr. Those days, how they implemented those and made Singapore to be what it is. And the leader was explaining how Lee Kuan Yew, is that his friend?
Lee Kuan Yew.
Lee Kuan Yew, how he had a philosophy in governance that focused on 3 things. Number 1, just the economy from day one. If Jomo Kenyatta, economy is not just money, economy is factors of production, sectors, how to create jobs, how to sustain. You cannot have jobs and sustenance where there's no climate. You know how to take care of your environment, etc. All of that is under the economic pillar. The next one was P, and the last one is H. P is pragmatism, and H is honesty. Pragmatism and honesty. So when you're, as a practical matter, William Ruto is the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. He's a young, ambitious, hardworking man. He will be the president, inshallah, for the foreseeable future. Both near and long term. Let me finish. So as a matter of pragmatism, when it comes to resource allocation, etc., should I be doing tialala in the street, or should I be having a civil conversation with His Excellency the President about the people of Kangundo who I represent? For example, if I was member of parliament, which I had thought of being. So as a matter of practicality, or should I go the way Honorable Kalonzo has been going now? Because, by the way, Linda, from here after my meeting, today I'm sleeping in Machakos. So I'm going on the ground to do my work. And the people consistently ask me, by the way, where are we? Benji, where are we? Tuko wapi? We were told to be in Azimio, tumeka Azimio now for a long time, which before was NASA, before that was CORD, etc. So there is fatigue and frustration because what exactly is the plan? And so for a member of parliament to go and have, let me give the media some credence, all right? And also those who oppose that indeed, we don't want to relapse to where a president captures everyone and we become a one-party state. We don't want
Then there's a problem there.
You see, I'm honest enough to say that we don't want that. At the same time, you cannot bar members of parliament from seeking a discussion where they can openly give their views and say, Your Excellency, this is how far I can work with you, this is how far I can go, because I'm also a member of a party. And just for having a discussion like that, you are physically, violently thrown out of a caucus where you belong. So we have a lot of issues, and in discussing pragmatism, Singapore talked about honesty, that you say what you mean what you say. Of course, honesty means you're not stealing resources, you're not diverting resources, like Fred was telling us, in Kisii, which is true, and in Nairobi, you have a list of ghost workers. The salary is paid, it goes to his account, he gives me a cut because I'm the accountant, I take a cut to the governor, etc. That kind of thing does not fall under when you have the pillar of honesty, Linda. And so, we must be practical in nature, especially where you have a lot of double speak from, Honorable Raila is older than the president. The president is almost his son. So it is him who can actually give a good example and leadership and guidance to the president. He has mentored him, he has guided him. Ruto worked for him. But now if you go and say Aisha Jumwa cannot work with Ruto, but yourself and you're on record, for, like I told you, I've worked with the auditor, so for me I go on facts. If I'm taken to court now, they tell me, show where Raila said that Uhuru stole his victory. I will submit. That case can even go to The Hague and I'll win. Because I go simply on facts. And after all of these allegations and realities and people have been killed and properties have been burnt and looted, then the guy goes the other side castigating the other people and does the same, and then says, you know, Uhuru is my brother, the younger man is my brother, and now I'm under him. And when things are going wrong, now he can't speak because the handshake, this thing that nobody understands what it was, has gagged him from criticizing the government.
A taste of his own medicine?
A taste of his own medicine.
So let me respond very candidly, let's say in a very honest way to my brothers. we tend to agree on a few things there, but the approach is the issue that I have. First and foremost, let me tell you what Linda and my brother who has just come, Mohammed, who says that...
I'm Ahmed.
Ahmed, sorry, Ahmed. That he's just in office. Let me tell you what, Linda. There are some things here that we're being told that's not possible. That the economy was okay the day before Ruto received the sword, and immediately gets the sword, the economy goes to ICU.
So the economy was also...
The economy was not okay. No, Linda.
Prof.
Let us use parameters. Prof. I gave them time to talk.
You know, it's
I gave them time to talk.
Linda, it's not...
Let's use parameters.
And to give propaganda. The economy was not okay.
Linda, let's use parameters. One of the most objective way to know is even to know how the shilling was performing against the dollar. It was 105. Now it's 140. So it cannot be that you get the sword.
It was
120
something. It was not.
But even if it's 120 something, we are at 140.
Yes.
You cannot use the sword. Yeah. Then the economy goes to 140, and then you're being told these are not your issues you have to deal with. But let me just put it candidly.
Can you ask the governor of Central Bank for an explanation?
Please, can you just wait? I'm an expert. I know he's a friend of mine. I know him. We discussed economics with him. Let me just go, Linda.
So what's the explanation?
Let me go to my point. Let me tell you one fact. Kenyans are high maintenance citizens. That's a fact. Why? They were surviving on subsidies. They are spoiled for all the rest. But when Ruto wanted to become president, he knows that he was deputy president. So if you give analogy chance here, Linda, if someone takes my girlfriend, now becomes my ex-girlfriend, then when she finds out that maintaining that girl is too expensive for him, he starts blaming me for spoiling the girl. That's what's happening now. Ruto is blaming Uhuru for having spoiled Kenyans. And Kenyans are demanding, give us low unga. We want unga price to go down. Fuel prices to go down. Cooking oil to go down.
Yes.
This is what Uhuru maintained Kenyans, and they were high maintenance citizens. Now, the issue is here that you have to find, let's say, a balance here. First, Kenyans need to understand that you cannot live on subsidies because it's not sustainable, isn't it? But then secondly, you cannot blame the ex-president for having spoiled his people. Now the question here is, what is Ruto going to do? When he was government, did he know the impact of subsidies? Did he not know that immediately after he takes over, this will come by his way? Did he know about the situation that Uhuru was dealing with when he was deputy president? So you cannot come back and start blaming Uhuru. Well, he was there. He sits in cabinet. So I don't expect him to come and blame. Linda, if you become an MD of TV47, I give you all strategy. The first thing, blame your ex-boss. That one can take you up to 2 years. Yeah. Then the second year, blame the economy. And then the third year, which before it is renewed, now start blaming the staff for not aligning up to you. Then you get the second term. Then now after that, you don't care because you have a second term. That's how people do it. And we don't advocate. Now, let me just go to the second thing. The second thing is going to the
Professor, yes.
Going to the street, according to me, there's something wrong about going to the street. But nevertheless, you were in State House when the president asked you guys that he wants a strong opposition. He asked for it. And he has awakened it. And I think that the opposition is just trying to find themselves have relevance. And Linda, let me tell you what, there is no opposition in this world. Even if you go to UK, you go to US, who will allow the government to work?
So do you think the right Honorable Raila Odinga should be stopped based on what the...
He has the right to do what he's doing.
But I have a question.
But what I'm trying to say, we elected, I'm saying we here, and I don't like the way I didn't vote for him, but I'm saying maybe Kenyans gave him the mandate to rule, isn't it? Managing Raila and the politics of the country, as much as the economy is in his hands. He cannot tell us, is Raila stopping you from working? He's the head of state, he has to find a formula. Linda, some things are very easy. If he finds that he cannot manage Raila on the street, Do what Uhuru did. Call him, have coffee, but not handshake, I'm trying to say, isn't it? Find a formula. If you don't want to do handshake, Uhuru did a handshake, it worked for him. What will work for you?
If
Don't tell us.
Raila Odinga is to be stopped,
Question.
how?
So I'm saying he has to find a formula on how to manage him. The third point I have here is...
Professor.
No. I'm going straight to that point about the State House, going to State House. Going to State House, for me, the president feels vulnerable that the opposition is starting all these upheavals actually in the nation today, isn't it? But let me tell you what, Linda, there are two things. You may feel vulnerable, but you are not vulnerable. Right. According to me, the president is not vulnerable. He has enough MPs to run the government. He can pass any bill he wants. There is no need of weakening anybody. But that feeling vulnerable can actually make him vulnerable. If I'm a husband at home and I feel insecure against my wife may be very faithful, but my insecurity can make her start cheating. So by trying to be vulnerable, by getting these members of parliament to his side when he doesn't need them, you realize these members of parliament have followers. So these followers, when they have challenges, they go to him and tell them, Mheshimiwa, niko na shida hapa na papa. Sasa, if they have gone to the other side, they may not have someone to talk to. And that's what I'm trying to say. Now Kenyans may go to the city by saying their leaders have abandoned them, the president giving them unga is bad, every cost of living is terrible, education is terrible. They have no one to go to because their MP has gone to Kenya Kwanza. So you cannot go to Kenya Kwanza MP to complain about issues affecting on the ground. Say they go to the street. So for me, to keep a match going, keep the opponent playing. Right. So keeping the opposition on the playing ground keeps the us run for 5 years. But if he tries to get them out of the playing ground, we shall have a short time. We may not have a full term of the president because people can go to the street because they have lost leadership. Right. That's what I'm trying to. And lastly, the issue of Singapore. But let's be honest, Singapore used the best and brightest to run the economy. If you look at the Kenya Kwanza government, I'm not sure whether they have the best and brightest.
Okay, well, interesting.
My question is only one sentence.
Yes.
Prof says he's an
economist.
How come I've never heard him talk about the debt? Debt crisis in Kenya. We have a debt crisis, which did not happen overnight.
You have heard someone say that for us to pay this debt, then we have to tax someone. That is Ndii, who's an advisor.
Which
so
I don't
that means
agree with.
overtax Kenyans?
Of course, Kenyans are already overtaxed and have been overtaxed. Double and triple taxation. You pay VAT, you pay sales tax, you pay all manner of duties and tariffs and whatnot, and then the money is all looted. So if he's an economist, he must pay close attention to the debt crisis because that's...
Linda, we can move there during cost of living. I have a very good way to put it, but I've always said this before on cost of living. I don't want to say... Because
it's very high.
No, the issue here is that taxation, Linda, you cannot tax your way to prosperity.
That's true.
And do you know what's happening? If you don't have any stimulus in the economy to make people have income, you are raising taxes, you are raising NSSF, everything is going up apart from income.
You have to raise incomes.
Yeah.
Tell me any rich citizens and I'll tell you a rich nation. You cannot be having Kenyans living below poverty line, then you expect to collect more taxes. In fact, when you tax people, you drive them below the budget line and they start consuming non-taxable things. For example, when you tax beer too much, people could afford beer, start drinking Chang'aa. And Chang'aa, you cannot collect taxes on Chang'aa. Because now, then they start, and I think this happened in the year 2007, when taxation went up, and Kenyans started consuming illicit brews. When they started consuming a lot, actually 2002, illicit brews, 54% of alcohol drank in the country were illicit brews, meaning that they were not taxable. Only 44% was taxable, and therefore tax from alcohol went down. So these are numbers to say, but of course the issue of debt, for me, debt is an asset. And let me tell you what, do you know why Americans have a worse debt problem than us? What's the difference between American debt and Kenyan debt?
Is that they borrow?
Our debt is that we borrow in foreign currency because Americans' debt is working for them. For them, their debt is sitting in dollars. They borrow in dollars and spend in dollars. For us, we borrow in dollars and spend on Kenya shillings. And because of that, then our debt can't work for us. Why is that not working for us? We produce things that no one wants to consume outside there. If we produce something that can actually be able to generate for us, this is called the balance of trade, isn't it? If you can treat the trade deficit And that's why I want to ask the president, tell him, your friend, move to manufacturing. That will be the solution.
Is that not what the Kenya Kwanza government anticipates? And just how possible is that to be achieved? We have seen the Big Four agenda, so much money put to that, budgets being read in favor of, these projects, but in vain. Just so that the current government then gets it right, what do they need to do different?
Linda, first of all, there's a lot of misinformation and propaganda in the name of giving analysis sometimes made by the people in opposition or maybe they are intellectuals, and that's something need to be said. You see, when Uhuru left office, the dollar was heading to 130, right? It was heading 130, and the graph was going up all the way from 100 every time, 110, 100, 120, 130, and now it's, I don't know, around 140. I don't use dollar anyway, and I don't earn on based on dollar. So the thing is, right now, when this regime came to office, there were so many messes that need to be corrected. And when you take action and you want to streamline things, there will always be consequences. The dollar right now is unsustainable. I mean, it's going up because there were a lot of subsidies that were trying, who we didn't know how they were functioning, that is being streamlined. And in the context of that, it seems like it's getting also out of hand. There are a lot of other global factors. So I don't think pinning the dollar increasing to the government. To the government or the government of the day, because it will be very unfair. There are a lot of factors that go into what determines how the dollar. I know our economy is not doing good, yes. I know things are not good. But you see, we have just transition from one regime to another, as I keep saying every day, and it's less than 6 months. So we need
Ahmed,
for it to be
you transitioned with lots of promises well.
And then now there are a lot of austerity measures that are being done by the regime, removing unnecessary subsidies. When it's easy to give subsidies because you just want to, it's like a bait to the masses.
That's the problem
because you're hiding away from your problem. But you see, the Ruto government is bold enough to get the bull by the horn.
Subsidies like a painkiller.
By saying we are removing these subsidies, we are going to suffer for this period, but finally when we get out of this, we are going to be sustainable enough to have a good life for good. And that's what's happening exactly. They have removed the subsidies because we've even been told by independent economists that the subsidies, the previous regime was giving are so unsustainable. Two, there is also right now, if you have watched the president address yesterday and the day before, the African Union, he has been talking a lot to the world.
To the world, yes.
And especially the international donors, the IMF and the World Bank, telling them, what they never had before. Ruto is bold enough to tell them, listen, look guys, what you're doing to us and Africa in general is not something that can be happening in the 21st century. We need to renegotiate. We need to do things differently. And he told them, Africanize or perish. Those are his words. He said, Africanize or perish. What he meant, in my understanding, is that you don't need to treat Africa the way you have been treating Africa for the last 6 years. And there was probably a leader born enough before William Ruto to tell these Western people that, we have come. We are, it's here. In fact, it's here. Yes.
Yes, but at least we've seen Ghana's president also facing the.
You see,
I'm happy they take my advice. I said this a long time ago.
But
I myself have worked as well as a consultant for World Bank. No, but you must demand.
You see, for you even to.
You must demand. We can't just.
You must demand first. You cannot just always take orders to be told do ABCD or do that.
Very well.
And you see, and I say, if we give William Ruto the next 1 year, 2 years, after this budget, for me, I keep saying the budget of June to this year, which will be 2023, 2024, will determine a lot of things. And I feel sorry for the man because he's being unfairly targeted in the sense that yesterday's nation, the Standard Nation, there's a story in the Standard Nation that says the battlefronts of William Ruto. How many battles does he have to? Is right now facing.
Does he have the luxury of time?
Yeah, no, it's not his battles. It's his battles, but it's not the one who is making it. We have the economy.
Ahmed, allow us to take a short break.
We have the economy. It's one battlefront. We have the drought and all those things, and then the party leader of Azimio is another battlefront. Just because he was defeated in the election and he's yet to accept results.
He wants to emulate Kibaki. Just how possible is that? Let's take a short break, and then we come back to you on that.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
It's a new season. Gathered for one reason.
We have looked at Pan-Africanism as a way to unite all of us.
Climate change is the one that's affecting our marine lives.
Debate.
Tell me, if we did not borrow, where would we be?
What does GMO offer? It offers longer shelf life for these foods.
Devolution was not a one-man army that was going to come here and take us by storm all on its own.
Young people drawn from across hundreds of schools in the country. The battle of minds. This is the debate cycle. Coming soon on TV47.
Hey!
Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari.
Tika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Haya, tika mama huyo.
Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari. TV47, the home of untold stories.
Gola, that, we're here, we intend to bring it to the levels of Kibaki and perhaps surpass that. Benji Ndolo is beautiful to say, is beautiful a statement during the campaign moments, is promising enough. But here we are. Some will tell you that Kibaki did great changes instantly.
Yeah.
Today,
you see, Linda, and I've said this before.
Yeah.
I've said this many times, and I sometimes don't want to sound like a PR person or a publicist for any particular family. Kibaki is a gold standard for presidency in the country.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's almost unfair to reference Kibaki. Why? Because Kibaki remains the gold standard by many, many measures. And the reason is simple. And we've discussed that even here on air before. President Kibaki, as leader of opposition, saw clearly what was wrong with the country because he was a trained economist, a product of London School of Economics in Makerere in the 1950s and early 60s, against a president who never even went to college. So Kibaki, his boss Moi, absolutely. So Kibaki had the time and the expertise and finesse to figure out exactly what was wrong.
Raila was on his side too, was on the streets.
Yes, because indeed Raila campaigned for him, but you know Raila in a sense was a new entrant because we're talking about people. Kibaki was in the first cabinet when this country got independence. Raila at the time was a teenager. So I don't want to inject Raila into this matrix. I want to talk about Kibaki the man, Kibaki the person, because Kenyans were literally shocked how Kibaki turned the economy around. Wasn't very adept at playing politics and what have you, which is what led to the disaster in 2007. But just the ability to turn the economy around basically overnight, because Kenya was bankrupt in 2001 and completely in the ICU. And here I'm quoting the late Finance Minister Simeon Nyachae, a statement that caused him even to be sacked by the president. Kenya was in the ICU economically, in the economic doldrums. I mean, I would visit Kenya in those days. I lived in the US, and Kenya just looked like a war zone. No tarmac, potholes everywhere, you know, no electricity. I mean, we know the story. Industries collapsed left and right. And so Kibaki was really able to turn around quickly. What William Ruto must do in emulating Kibaki, William Ruto must have quick deliverables. Now, this is what I think David Ndii is not understanding. I saw an interview he did, last week, where he's asking for too much grace and time. We need quick deliverables. And I've told them, energy is the best place to start. And just low-hanging fruit. So, for example, here, we've got, again, I don't write the newspaper, importers of edible oil up in arms because there are cartels importing oil and undercutting the industries here, Pwani oil, etc., which create jobs, which use local manufacturing, produce, etc., to bring oil, edible oil to the market. But then someone just does a cartel. We saw that with sugar. They import sugar, then they brand it as Mumias and say, I mean, that kind of wanton mafia criminality, if not stopped, how do you fix the economy?
But they're parts of it.
But that's what I'm saying.
Even you saw the president coming into betting companies.
So this cannot give us a sustainable way out of poverty into job creation, Linda. So the President William Ruto must deliver yesterday. I don't know. I'm talking to them privately as well as publicly. This is a public forum. I don't know if they understand the sense of urgency that is there. Fuel prices, I know they were being adjusted last week. I don't know. I've actually kind of lost interest in tracking some things because they should be going steadily down.
And hence my question, do they have the luxury of time?
Let us not, without fear of contradiction, Prof, fuel prices and therefore food prices must be going steadily down.
And they want
how you figure it out is on D, not me. And I told him, he's a friend of mine, how, give the president the how. One of what I suggested, I mean, you saw the other day at the AU meeting, all these presidents are there in their private jets. You understand, at great cost. And I told them, fuel the president's plane, let him go to Saudi Arabia, which is a kingdom, let him sit with the young king and ask for his own rate for petroleum. And let us see what we can give in return. You must have courage as a leader.
I think the question we need to ask, we as experts here, instead of throwing stones, what should this Kenya Kwanza government doing to get it right economically?
I've just told them what to do.
And you see, what is that you have said they should be doing? Because according to me, there are a lot of missteps here. I was here with Dr. Mbai.
1 second, because you're not listening. 1 second. Dr. Mbai is out of the country.
I'm listening to you.
I've asked the president to go and negotiate a special rate. Kenya has many things to offer, including organic food, including farming land, including many minerals and what have you. I've asked him to get Marbane crude cheaply and here so that he can give us petrol at 85 shillings a litre based on our incomes. Is that a bad thing to say?
No, let me tell you what.
Or are you not creating?
You throw big words, but let me just be honest.
What are the big words?
Let me be honest here.
Marbane oil is a big word.
You know when you go to these places where this guy is talking about, when you go there, isn't it? There is no one who can just come and say, let me bring for you fuel prices from 199 shillings to 85.
That is why they just said.
Obama came here.
What works for
Obama came here and told us something which I think Kenya need to listen, because this is Kenyan, African, American presidency. Every country acts on national interest, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, what bargaining chip do you have when you go to negotiate with this young king he's talking about?
Yeah.
Now, this State House talks about is a dealership now. It's about deals. And let me tell him honestly, he's a politician. He works in the office of Prime Minister. Me, I don't even have his number. I've never worked with any single politician. He worked with them. Why in a mess if he work with them? He's so close to them. He can call them, he can talk to them.
But I've consistently given my advice.
What I'm trying to say here in short,
I
would not be sitting here.
That's what I'm giving the underlying
thing. Every Kenyan knows what I stand for.
That's what I'm telling underlying thing. Kenyans should know that there's no politician who is your friend. A politician goes for his self-interest. And that's why we are looking about how we can bring civil society strongly to work on the interests of the citizens. Like now, my organization, Operation Ndogatuzi, is involved in the US-Kenya trade negotiation, just to bring how can the society actually benefit. This is a direct benefit.
But I'm not.
But if you wait,
where the ambassador is doing.
No, I don't have to see me. Me, I'm not visible. I'm just a professor. Me, I chalk.
Come in.
And then, secondly,
make it brief so that.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just starting. Secondly, I want to say this, Linda. Kenya also needs to wake up and realize that the problem is not that government will do for you anything.
Yeah, I'm not
It
saying
needs
you, yeah,
with
this
it
organization.
needs with a mindset change. You understand? It starts with a mindset change. What do you need to start fixing your own things? And I can tell you, from our own background we discuss here, it is possible that we can be able to fix these things. And we can fix our own life. Government just needs to keep the country functional. And as an economist, let me tell you what. We are discussing about fertilizer now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know, Linda, that fertilizer is under agrarian economy? Because we have what you call hunters and gatherers as the first form of economy.
Yeah.
We move from there. Agricultural fertilizer and seeds under agrarian economy. We need to move to industrialization. That discussion has not worked because we talk about putting a lot of bet on fertilizer and seeds. It is still agrarian economy, which means we have not yet industrialized. You remember at industrialization that there's a high value addition that can create more jobs for people. And that's why if you talk about this now, they talk about cartels and cartels and cartels. That is not something to listen to because these cartels, we have the head of state. Again, just like Raila handled him. Cartels, he said when he was in Meru, that I'm going to smash cartels. It is more than 100 days. What are you waiting for to smash cartels? You are saying you have just taken over. Then lastly, just for the sake of Ahmed, the Kenya shillings is not the one that is doing badly against the dollar. What's happening here is not the dollar doing very well. It is the Kenya shilling depreciating. Tanzanian shillings, Ugandan shillings, the Rwandese franc are doing much better, and Kenya shillings is depreciating, meaning that it's not a global issue. It's a systemic, it's an in-country thing, not a systemic risk. So, in fact, the dollar is doing very bad if you look at other currencies abroad. So let them not tell us that it is the dollar doing well. No. It is the Kenya shilling depreciating because of the economic policies and silly utterances like saying we are broke. When you tell people you are broke, yet you are the trade bloc, economy is emotional. People feel it and they keep the money. Like now, I have dollars. I will not convert my dollars into Kenyan shillings because I believe
we'll come to some of the utterances and some of the
yes. So those are reckless statements they are making. Let them withdraw them.
If you are broke, you are broke.
Yes.
If you are broke, you are broke.
You have to accept that and
in public. I can't even tell my wife I'm broke, Linda.
Let me finish. Your government is not your wife, and neither can the government be compared to our wife.
And whip our buttocks.
Yes, yeah. If you are broke, you are broke.
Even a company don't disclose that we are going bankrupt. You can't.
Allow me to finish.
The strategy of managing some of this.
Yes. Listen, Linda. You know, yes, ask how, you know, how is the Ruto government trying to fight cartels? We're trying to, the government of the day is trying to sort out many issues. You touch one cartel, Raila is there. It's like they have found a guardian angel, you know. And
I asked, how then do you manage it? How do you manage?
Corrupt. A corrupt man.
How then do you manage it? Because if
all the leaders in the previous regime who have mismanaged this economy, when they tried to be interrogated or reached out, some of them they fake raids that never happened, and when you ask them for CCTV footage, you know, they take it on. And then when you go after these people, Raila is there to defend them. So you wonder now, is he fighting for the rights of Kenyans, or is he a guardian angel for the corrupt regime that everybody knows what? Look at it right now. The Grand Mullah said usually the other day on Twitter that people looted money to an extent that they are now saying a private equity is coming to this country.
Correct.
Yes, that means maybe the money that has been looted is being returned in the name of a private equity, either acquiring a business here or there. Yet the same people are now again being named as a president of a venture, let's say Wall Street associated firm based in London, this kind of thing. Immediately 6 months or 4 months or 5 months after you have left as being a minister. No, yeah, and many others. So, for me, this will be my advice to the president. And because Kenyans are very impatient right now, for him to deliver, he has to ignore the noise coming from the opposition. Because,
well, that's not what his deputy says.
Yes, you see, he has to ignore the noise. Number two, the energy that's being spent on exchanging words here and there with the opposition daily won't be of any use to the common Kenyan. So, and it will also distract the president from achieving why the Hustler Nation elected him. And three, maybe the opposition is setting the president for failure by keeping him engaged throughout, busy with unnecessary politics, so that a year or two down the line is still where he was when he came to power, and people will not be kind to him. The voters will not be kind to him. So I think a lot of things need to be changed. Now, talking of the deputy president, yes, he is the principal assistant of the president, and he's supposed to do the right thing that the president needs to do, advise on all that. But there are some things I don't like. There's some utterances he makes that I don't like. Like yesterday, I don't know how true it is because I didn't watch any video of him, but I saw it online where he said the government is a shareholding.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched.
Yeah, he said it's true.
That is not something, it's very unfortunate. That's something even the supporters of the Kenya Kwanza government will accept. If you talk about being a shareholding.
Even for me, I know my appointment would have been fast-tracked if I was Kikuyu.
Yes.
So it's true, I know that.
Yeah. So if you talk about now shareholding and all these things, how do you expect Kenyans to pay taxes? Even start from there. So you're trying to dissuade people, even those who support this government, to do the right thing. So I think the deputy president, with all due respect, sometimes he should mind some of the utterances he makes.
Because you'll have the president.
And yes, the utterances across, when he says now, of course, the Right Honourable Raila Odinga is stopping the government from, performing. Is that then a polite way of acknowledging then you don't expect anything much from us Kenyans? Because after all, when we're trying to do this, the Right Honourable Raila Odinga is always on the way. So is that a polite way of telling us that, well, they're inviting him for a handshake?
So here's what I think the strategy should be. Just following up on what my brother Ahmed talks about. Here's what I personally think, or what I'd advise, and I've been an advisor for a long time. I'm a seasoned advisor.
But it's not working.
In that.
Your advice is not working.
No, I'm giving advice now. I'm saying I'm not advising them per se, but I've worked as an advisor for the last more than 10 years, and I take pride in that because I'm very, as with anything I do. We had a coffee the other day, and I was telling him, if we decide to work on something, I bring a lot of energy and commitment. I'm American trained.
Sure.
So you see, when I do this debate here, Prof, I don't come here like half-baked.
Yes, not to the point, don't worry about it.
No.
I get you.
Or reluctant or uneasy. I come here to give it my all, and then I go to the next place and give it my all. My advice would be to kind of follow the Kibaki way with a bit of a difference. What Kibaki did is he got down to work and he ignored the political stuff. But that caused a problem to brew because by ignoring the political stuff, he left a gap which Honorable Raila, the then Langata MP, exploited and then marshaled and harnessed it into a weapon that he used to garner for the presidency in 2007. So what I would advise Ruto is to go the Kibaki way with an exception, to focus on the presidency, to work and ignore Mr. Raila. But then the difference with Kibaki will be that Ruto will task his deputy. He'll task his deputy. As he ignores Raila, task your deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, to do all those things that the opposition and Kina Raila are doing now. All those gimmicks and games and manamano and all of that, I think that should be the strategy. I had more of what Honorable Rigathi said yesterday. It was much more. He targeted Uhuru. He made scathing attacks publicly on former President Uhuru, on Raila. He said that Raila amepeleka huyo mzee mwenye alikuwa ni commander in chief, mzee wa heshima, amempandisha kwa roli. He's teaching him how to throw stones, kuketi kwa lami. He said all that yesterday. If I was taken to court today, I could adduce the evidence. So I think as a matter of strategy, let the president detail his deputy because he's, some things, for example, Honorable His Excellency Kalonzo has not such kind of character. He cannot fight you in public and attack you non-stop and do all those things Rigathi is doing. So because Rigathi is gifted in that,
and he goes ahead to say that, well, he's the one who's going to manage.
It's a God-given thing. Yeah, exactly. He said, kazi yangu kwa ikulu ndio hiyo. I remove people from the line, etc. Yeah,
then they are asking.
So you can just imagine, So if I was advising the president and I know they listen, let Rigathi handle all that dirty stuff, all that heavy stuff. Let Ruto, who is smart, strategic, hardworking, let him not respond to Raila in any way, sense of fashion. Even those political meeting kina Jalango nini, let the president maybe just endorse, but let the president focus on turning around. If they don't do that, it's not going to be good.
Linda, let me tell you what I told you during the break when no one was on air, but I told you why all these guys are back to politics is that they are not unable to fix the economy. The Kibaki had that luxury because he was getting right economically. And I told you, Ruto feels falsely vulnerable. He is not. In fact, he is being driven by where Raila will set for him his agenda for the next 5 years. And if not, remember, he is now more than 6 months into the presidency.
But Raila has asked him to leave office.
10%, there is no mechanism at the moment if he fixes the economy. The only thing that can survive is fixing the economy. Unfortunately, David Ndii, who is the chair of the Economic Council, he is a very well-educated man. He got his PhD, he's got PhD from Rhodes School in Oxford, very educated. Unfortunately, David Ndii has never advised any government in power, economically. Because if you give history, when he came in after finishing school, he was advising Jaramogi against Moi. And did Jaramogi succeed? Of course not. Then after that, he was advising Raila against Moi, and then Raila against Uhuru.
Was in Kibaki's
then,
economic council.
You see, yes. So we can go from the beginning. He's never advised the government in power. David Ndii has not even run a business to know the economics of running a business. We know each other. We are economists, know each other.
I find him too theoretical.
I agree. What I'm trying to say,
it's too theoretical.
This guy needs a hard-nosed economist.
Correct.
Who knows exactly where the pulses of the economy is.
True.
And I can tell you, look at this mistake. When you go and say, I told you utterances, economics is very emotional. People think economics are just numbers, they are emotional.
But it's food.
When he goes and says that the government is a shareholder that belongs to two shareholders who are majority shareholders, and you have no shares if you didn't vote, isn't it? And then you're telling us we should pay taxes to a company which belongs to shareholders. Do customers pay taxes to a company? Yeah. So those utterances doesn't give us incentive to pay taxes. Now, my concern with the issue of taxes is this. Linda, from evidence I can give you economically, that Kenya Kwanza is collecting more taxes than Uhuru. Reason being that the taxes introduced, for example, now, if you earn your salary, you get income tax, you pay for it. Secondly, when you go to buy any good, you pay taxes as well, isn't it? When you pay with your mobile phone wallet, it is taxed. If you send M-Pesa, it is taxed. But you already pay income tax, then you're paying VAT as you buy, and then you're paying taxes on digital wallet.
That's why I called it double and triple taxation.
You are paying more taxes than Uhuru's presidency. Now, my concern is, even Ruto is borrowing more than Uhuru borrowed. In his first 6 months, he's borrowed more than what Uhuru borrowed in the first 6 months. The question is this, when these guys are giving him all excuses, where is this money going? We did SGR, we're doing expressway, isn't it? Now they have cut the capex, which means capital expenditure in building assets of the economy, and they are taking. So my concern is this: if they are not having a very big capital investment, and we are paying more taxes, and we don't know where taxes are going, it does not give incentive to pay taxes. And my suspicion is that this money is being stolen and also is being spent.
Linda, Prof ought to know that he's talking of big investments like expressway and SGR. You know, Uhuru was in power for 10 years. Ruto is, as I keep saying, why? I don't know, Prof, which mass he lives. Because how do you talk of a big, project within? Even you are not ready your first budget. I want him to be fair enough as he critiques the government. We are not here to defend the government, neither are we spokespeople for the government. Correct. But we just say things for what we see.
For what they are.
I've given evidence. I've given evidence.
Listen,
look here.
Listen.
Look here. Let me just go here.
Let me finish.
He's drawn parallels.
What I'm saying is, Prof is enumerating issues like Ruto is serving his second term, the 6th year, when there have been 5 years. We are talking about a government that's already read its first budget, and that's the kind of context which we want to operate from. Having said that, right now, apart from the economic battlefront, we have other battlefronts to address. We have the issue of the banditry, right now.
And that's what we're coming to
we have
discuss
the issue.
After
Yes, we have the issue of the banditry and how do they impact the economy. I'm a pastoralist. We are talking about 10 million Kenyans. If you look at the latest statistics done by in the last census, there are 10 million Kenyans with about 2 to 3 billion worth USD worth livestock. So my word, those are things I have done.
Kenya National Bureau.
Yeah, that's the word. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The latest report talks about 10 million Kenyans all the way from West to Pokot Marakwet, to Samburu, to Mandera, to Wajir, and all that. How do we have that kind of economy having a positive impact on the general economy of the country? What kind of value addition do we need to do for the pastoralist economy to have a great impact? I keep telling people that Northern Kenya is the next frontier of development, but people don't listen because we have untapped resources. The rest of Kenya has been tapped. You know, if you go to Mount Kenya.
In fact, Ahmed, why are you right? Why are you right? Because I was telling the economist here that with all these animals, for example, we can do processing and meat packing, etc. for Saudi Arabia.
Yes, for the Gulf
states.
Give them
halal for the Gulf states, and they give us the oil we need. But now when I say that, I'm using
but you see, so we keep playing politics.
You again allow them to gang against
what we can do. When we can do a lot of value addition. You talk about Northern Kenya, people say, Somalis, terrorists, that kind of stuff. You know, we are in 2023. We are in 2023. We need to change how we see each other. We need to change our.
Somalis are good people.
Yeah, we need to do business the way it's supposed to be done, and we need to give each part of this country has something to offer the economy of Kenya.
Yes. All right. Linda from Eldoret, like Mugo is just listening and says, you know, the very same Somalis will not want to sell their cattle for whatever reason. So how do you?
What do you mean? Every day there's a market. If you go to Gaza, there's a lifestyle. That's the kind of people we are talking about.
Rather die.
That's stereotyping. No.
Those are people who operate from the comfort of their coaches without thinking. They just type. You know, we have a market day in Garissa. We have a market day in Wajir. We have a market day. The meat, go to Kariobangi. Right now, in the morning, go to Kariobangi. All the goats that are there come from Northern Kenya.
How do you explain the cases of, how do you explain the cases of drought and some of this livestock? We literally see them, you know, being filmed.
The cases of drought, first of all, is a national phenomenon which we cannot escape from.
Why not sell this
which we can't escape from. Number one. Number two, for me, I'll blame the county governments. In the sense that the county government has become, you know, a heaven for looting, and more than even the national government. I keep saying on Twitter, and this is one thing many people don't like, especially people from my community, because I talk more than necessary sometimes according to them. And they and they say, when you talk about devolution, look, the county's government of Northern Kenya, Marsabit, Isiolo, Mandera, Garissa, Wajir, the amount of money that goes there vis-a-vis the kind of development we have do not match. You know, and these are things we have to say, and these are things we need to hold our governors accountable. When the drought came, what did the county government, which is close to the people, do to avert the consequences we have seen the drought having on the livestock, animals, perishing in large numbers? And then they kept saying, of course, the national government has a responsibility, but you see, there's a reason why we have devolution. Devolution was supposed to set the mess at the ground. I look again the issue of the economy in terms of the counties. Counties, the Auditor General reports, when you go through them, and the reports of the budget of the controller, they keep saying that the local county councils used to collect more money than the counties are collecting. Correct. So where is and this is the same county, for example. So where is this money going? So I think, you know, when Nigeria implemented devolution, after the first 5 years, 33, most of the governors were jailed. Unless we do something about our governors, I don't think we are going to correct the mess in our counties.
And so that's on the question of devolution. Benji Ndolo, I have to release you.
Yes.
But then we have to take a short break. And
Linda, thank you. You're always so gracious. It's a pleasure coming here. We need to get back on Twitter as a station, as TV47.
Right.
Because I then received a lot of tweets throughout the day.
I mean,
so the
hackers did their thing, but we're trying to get on ground.
Let's do this again soon. And by the way, I lost a nice lady, a close friend. Her name is Josephine, to cancer. Literally just day before yesterday. My condolences to the Owino family, to the Sila family, to Mama Shiko. It was just a very nice person. She just quickly got sick and went to India, came back to Aga Khan. And I was just saying yesterday, because when I got there, a lot of people see us on TV and they say, oh, this is Benji Ndolo, you know, to salimia and tell us. And I said, you know, we need to find a cure for cancer. We can't just wait for America. Even for us, we have researchers here, we have Kemri, we have brains, you understand? We have oncologists. And it's unbelievable and unfortunate, Linda, how we are just losing young, vibrant people to cancer. So our condolences to the family. And again, thank you. Allow me to run, but I'll see you next week.
Looking forward to that. I'd have loved to hear
Asante,
your
madam.
view on the KDF matter and you know, the banditry attacks, but fine. Let's take a short break.
I'll send
Benji
a
Dolo,
text, yes.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
that.
God
All
bless you.
right. So
God bless you
after
guys.
this break, we'll come back
Asante.
for that.
Asante.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Sona Moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona Moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona Moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Are you looking for a college that will shape your future career? At Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences, we offer advanced courses with personalized attention to our students. Come and get your diploma or certificate in cosmetology, hairdressing and beauty therapy, diploma in community development and social work, or certification in catering and accommodation operation. We also offer diploma in nutrition and dietetics and many more. All of our graduates have secured employment in the job market, while others have gone into entrepreneurship. What are you waiting for? Join us today. For more information on how you can enroll, visit us at the London Beauty Building, 5th floor, Taveta Road, Nairobi, or call us on 0726 031 109 or 0784 515 606. Facebook, Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences, or on Instagram, Candy College of Sciences. Our January intake is ongoing. Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences is the cutting edge college. On the next episode of The Realtor.
My name is Esther Njenga. I am an architect, a graduate architect. I design, plan, and supervise construction of buildings for a living. We are all used to male engineers, male architects, male everything in the construction industry. But the minute you're a woman, people want to listen. They want to hear what's different about you.
Tuesday, 6:30 p.m.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Shhh. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari. Watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
And we're left with Ahmed Kader Kada, political analyst and blogger, as well as Professor Fred Ogola, who's a governance and a political expert for us to decipher on some of the matters that we would definitely manage to before we call it a day. And Prof, let's talk KDF now that Kada brought it on board. Not KDF, I mean the banditry attacks that we are witnessing. And Ahmed acknowledges or says that, you know, we need to be fair, you know, to the government of the day because they're handling a couple of other things, a myriad of other things. Perhaps that's the reason why then the Constitution allows for numerous offices that are supposed to be occupied by individuals that carry the same vision with the president.
Yeah.
And here we are. Is that a reason for us to speak of the fact that, well, can we just give them time to handle all these numerous challenges that they are handling? And beyond that, the banditry attack, we would agree with what it is that he says. This is not a problem that begins with the Kenya Kwanza government, has been there since time immemorial, has not been handled to perfection. Other countries have managed to handle the same problem, you know, successfully. Uganda, if we're to pick on that then why is it that it becomes a problem for us? And LSK, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, presented or had to present a case in relation to the same, saying that, you know, as the Constitution would dictate, it is necessary for, yes, us to take directions of getting the KDF to come on board if these cases are extreme, but then again with the approval of Parliament, which has not played out.
I think that when you have a hammer, you begin to treat everything like a nail. So Kenya Kwanza, that they have a government, they have the police, they have the military, they're trying to treat anything like a war. The situation in these areas where there's people fighting is not war. It's not war. What are the issues? Let's learn. History has it that if you are a good student in strategy, you must be good in history. Look at the coastal Pwani Sea, Kenya. Kayabombo issue that killed so many people. Is it still there? No, it's not there. How did it get cured? There's lessons to get from there. And these things start by, for example, the issue of cattle rustling starts by a practice that used to be done like a custom. It was not a big issue because these communities had got livelihoods that were going on.
Right.
Now that there's no livelihoods, poverty levels have gone high, illiteracy is now increasing, if you like, and people are not having what to survive on. Now becomes an economic issue. It moves from a customary issue to an economic issue. It is not a military issue. So if it's now an economic issue, it needs an economic solution, not a military solution. You see, the president has gone there saying, try me next time, you'll see. Kindiki should come and live here. Those are not the solutions. In fact, immediately he said, try me, before he landed in Nairobi, there was another attack. And it has been several. So what we're trying to say here is that why don't we find a way on which we can bring these people together? Because there's the issue of the Pokot people, isn't it? There's the issue of the Turkana people, among other communities there that needs to be brought together. The way they just are the coast. How can we bring coexistence among these people? Have the elders of these communities sat down to tell them this is the issue? And again, talking about the issue whereby they are saying that the president has too many issues to deal with, Uhuru had them, Kibaki had them, Moi had them, and they were still delivering it economically. So this is not an excuse. When you are running for president, you have to read the job description of being president and know what it means. There is what we call in decision making presidential point. A president has so many things to deal with, but there's the issue of running government with a structure.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing with the current president is that he's the head of state, the president. He also looks sometimes like the deputy president, and sometimes he looks like a minister, and PS, and again officer, and sometimes head of security, name it. If you are taking the Kibaki style like Benji was trying to talk about, why don't you allow your dogs to bark when they need to bark? Why don't they bite when they need to bite? Why should you be owning a dog, then again you're barking? So there's a structural government, Linda. As a governance expert, I formulated the one under Kibaki. We come with what we call E, executive order, issue an executive order on this issue. Then the Minister of Internal Security will come with ministerial policy around how to deal with it. Then there's a State Department in charge of that area, also come with an execution framework. Then there will an agency involved in it. Should you bring peacekeepers than bringing the police? Because you know that the guys who are doing business have said, because of the military approach, they have closed their businesses. They cannot do business anymore because now they're being harassed. Policemen don't know how business works. They just come and harass you. So the people who are running their businesses find now they cannot work. Economic issues become even worse. So the approach here should be, what is the issue? Uhuru did what? He went there, and even these guys handed over their guns to him and said, now, take our guns, let's have peace. Why are we not having a similar approach? Chest stamping won't work, but real engagement needs to be done on the ground.
Linda.
And for me, before you solve this issue, is an economic issue. Get these young people busy at work. They'll have no time to raid cattle. These people fighting, they're being paid some little money. And also at the same time, there are politicians financing this whole thing.
First of all, there's misrepresentation here.
Okay.
I don't ever remember Uhuru going there and those people giving him guns.
To a large extent it happened, but now the problem is that we still have it.
If not anything, remember the former Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, who was an officer at the office of the president, told us that his calls are not even picked by the principal secretary. So, Prof, stop misleading people.
No, there's a point. There's a point.
Guns were handed over.
There's a point. There's a point. It happened.
Because first of all, whether he went there in person or in Ghana as he wants to be, it's neither here nor there because it didn't happen. And if you remember, the previous regime did not do things according to the law. We were told that by none other than Nathan Bear, who is currently the governor of
Trans
Nzoia. And he was an insider in this whole operation. First of all, they didn't follow the law, and unlike right now, where the KDF deployment has gone through Parliament, the honourable Minister for Defence, Honourable Aden Duale, people who like sticking to the law, he took this thing to the Parliament, and Parliament considered it. And this is an operation jointly with the Kenya Police.
And so you think the LSK is not going anywhere with this?
Yeah, and it's called Operation Maliza Uhalifu in the North Rift. You see, the way the Ruto regime is handling this is completely different from the way previous regime did it. Because it seems like the Ruto regime, the Ruto administration is getting right in handling the issue of the banditry, even though it's early to assess the impact and all that. Because first of all, they have followed the law in terms of making sure that the necessary laws are there. The deployment, you can't just wake up one morning and deploy the military. So it had to be taken to Parliament, as the Waziri did, Minister for Defence, Honourable Duale. Secondly, they are sticking to basic human rights. So far, we have not seen any issue of people being mishandled, unlike before, which Motambe said, you send them the north, they go the south. So that means there has been a conflict of interest. You tell them to do operation in certain areas, they go opposite, and people on the opposite side start suffering. So the point I want to say is that the issue of the banditry, first of all, I agree with him one thing, it's an economic issue, because people are trying to be surviving for the fittest. But you see, we're in 2023, we cannot be doing what our ancestors did, Prof, in terms of handling issues of economic. You cannot just wake up one morning, raid people, bombers, steal their cows and their camel. This thing has to end. Yesterday, 3 people were killed in Isiolo. And it's been reported that bandits from another county, neighboring country, which is alleged to be Samburu, raided a Manyata in Isiolo and stole over 200 camels belonging to a Somali community. And the police are still pursuing the bandits. We can't live that kind of way of lifestyle in this time and era where we're talking about AI and artificial intelligence and all those things. So I think the issue of the banditry, they are getting it right. This administration, though as I said, too early to assess. The military has been deployed lawfully to join with the Kenya Police. They are maintaining, the basic human rights, because so far we have not seen any mismanagement of individuals or people. Sometimes, who has this kind of issues have consequences in terms of people suffering, especially the people who are not supposed to be the right people to be dealt with. Sometimes suffer. So it means this administration is getting it right. Thirdly, I agree with the Prof that we need to, the pastoralist counties, there has always been systematic government have ignored pastoralists in this country, from West Pokot in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure, how do we end this banditry and this barbaric culture? By investing in terms of education, by investing in terms of infrastructure. When you build the right roads in these counties, you reduce the risk of even tackling crime. If, for example, the highway between Wajir and Mandera was fully tarmacked, which this regime is undertaking because the previous regime was skipping papers here and there. And the other day, there was a report that was released that it will be done soon. And they have honestly, the Ministry of Transport under Murkomen has released, I saw it in the papers, what they are supposed to be doing, because that road has been earmarked for construction a long time ago. But you see, people have been using it as a bait, maybe to loot or whatever it is. And which is now different. They started from Garza to Modogashe, it has ended. If that road is taken from Wajir to Mandera completely, it becomes a highway. Number one, it reduces the issue of insecurity. It will be easy to attend to security issues. Same way, talk of Samburu, talk of West Pokot, because the issue of banditry right now is affecting 8 counties. West Baringo, West Pokot, Turkana, Baringo, Samburu, Cielo, Marakwet, and about 8 counties, you know. So they need to be a holistic approach in how we do things, and I think we are getting it there. We are handling the right way. And one thing that's very important, the Ruto administration seems like they are very genuine and sincere about ending the menace of banditry in this time and era.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Linda, if he talks about a holistic approach, Linda, do you know how much a gun costs? If these people have no food and they can afford a gun, who is giving them a gun?
Who's giving them the guns?
If I can't afford sugar, a 1 teaspoon of sugar, and I have a gun, does it make sense? So the point I'm trying to draw here is that the real culprits of this banditry are not being tackled.
Yeah.
Who is, even Natembeya said, Natembeya is a friend of mine. I was one of his head of strategy in his campaign. He says that a helicopter lands to bring weapons. Who owns a helicopter in these areas? Can someone lack sugar and they can actually bring a helicopter to bring guns?
The same helicopter has been alleged to be owned by
just let me finish.
Who, when he was being questioned, they turned it politics.
Yeah.
So then, Azimio came in and tried to politicize the whole thing. Honestly, you cannot have your cake and eat at the same time.
Ahmed, what I'm trying to say
is important.
Even if it's an Azimio, me, I have no interest on who is doing it.
Yeah.
The head of state has intelligence.
So are we tackling
Can a helicopter overfly Baringo or Baragoi without our intelligence knowing? If they don't know, there is the problem. If they know, it's the same problem, because if they know, they should take action. Linda, let's talk about institutions and functions. The head of state is briefed earlier than you in the morning about security. Before this show begins, he's been briefed about what's happening. In fact, what he's saying, if it is true, the head of state knows. The issue is, for us to tackle this issue, the big people who gain from this thing happening are the ones not being tackled. Later there's a saying which looks very stupid but is very brilliant, that if nothing changes, nothing changes. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So if the beneficiaries of this thing are not changed, then, and the benefits are not changed, as an expert in change management, we say, change, whatever happens because they are beneficiaries of what happens and there are benefits to what happens. So if benefits remain the same, it's a political interest. If the political gain remains the same, and the politicians who gain from it, the beneficiaries remain the same, then the ecosystem remains the same. The head of state, one thing you give to him, he's been a member of parliament for a very long time. He's been an MP, he's been a minister, and he's been deputy president for 10 years. He listened to these security briefs for 10 years. He knows more than what Ahmed knows. He knows what Fred Ogola knows. He knows what Linda knows. And he knows what to do. If he's saying that he's a sincere person, let him touch where it matters, which is who is taking the guns there and who is owning the helicopter here. And who gains from this ecosystem? These young people are not bad-mannered people. They have no options. Once there are no guns flying there, no helicopters flying there, and they are given economic sustainability, it works.
Linda,
and then
the
issue of infrastructure development, Uhuru Kenyatta was very serious with it. Garissa Moyale route, you cannot drive.
Garissa Moyale route is wrong. It's wrong because Garissa Moyale.
The North Horn.
First of all, there's no road called Garissa Moyale because there is no network. There is no road network between Moyale and Garissa. What he wants to say, and I have to correct him, is the road of Moyale, Marsabit, Cielo.
Yes, Marsabit, Cielo, yeah.
And that's a lapsed project. I need to remind Prof this.
You're right.
And that's, Prof is mixing a lot of things.
I'm saying you're
under the rain.
Yeah, that's a lapsed project under Kibaki, which is a program that was supposed to be done between the Kenya government and the Ethiopia government. The Kenya government does this side all the way to Moyale. The Ethiopian government does all the way to.
So just
you don't want to give it to them because you know most of
Linda, and that was a Kibaki project.
Linda, let me finish.
I am not saying it should not be given to this regime. I mean to the previous regime, but
credits.
It's good to say things
because they could have easily as well said.
but it's good to say things for what they are and not assume things that are not there. That's the correction I want to make. Secondly,
let me finish my point.
Okay,
let me finish my point. Linda, let's not make this look at a political contest.
Yes.
Where I agree, there's no need of trying to talk too much. I've said I don't come from that area, but I know there's a route which was done there by the current administration.
Not the current administration.
It's called
not the current administration.
The former administration.
Not even the province, it's the Kibaki.
No, the vision was done by Kibaki.
No,
but the implementation.
Even the road construction, because when Uhuru was coming to power, it's almost ending. That road was ending. It's things for there. I'm not against the previous. I am not saying.
Ahmed, you need to agree.
I am not saying, Linda.
He has agreed.
I am not saying they didn't do anything.
Yes.
All I am saying, if you are Linda, you are Linda. If you're not Linda, you're not Linda. That's all I'm saying.
Now, what I'm trying to say here in short is that those roads have been done. It's called the North Hall. This is under Kenya projects. What I'm trying to say here is that give people credit where credit is due, but also take people to task where they have not done their bit.
Yeah.
What we know is at the moment, there is no road which has been done under Kenya Kwanza government. He will tell you they are still young, isn't it? But people can be young until now they're leaving office. 10% of your presidency is not small. 10% is not small. What is that act of genius? We have seen in matters of security, education, the party is working on it. Everything is work in progress. They are talking about the budget has not been read. The budget was supposed to be done when they met in Mount Kenya. They talked about the supplementary budget, which will be read in March. Now they are talking about June now. If we are about to read the budget in June, why reading one in March, which is supplementary? And then secondly, that budget had got where money was supposed to go to junior primary school, how much money was supposed to go to health. Has it been taken there? Even if you are saying you didn't make the budget, he was deputy president in that administration. That budget was under his administration. Why is it not being felt? And Linda, there are two things we have to distinguish. There's what we call economic development, meaning that how much revenue does the government generate in a daily basis, isn't it? But that's what we call that's economic growth. How much revenues you collect. Yes. Economic development is how do people feel it, goods of life. Do they see better education? Do they see better healthcare? Do they see cost of fuel, cost of cooking oil? When you put money in those things, people feel it. If you put them elsewhere, they don't feel it. So just collecting more revenue or growing the GDP is not what Wanjiku feels. Wanjiku feels that in the pump, I can see mafuta imeshuka. I can see paraffin imeshuka chini. I can see that I can travel more cheaply. I can see that I can take a child to school. I can take someone to hospital. That's what is called economic development, access to goods of life. So this is why I'm trying to say, according to me, there is no stroke of genius to turn around Wanjiku's feeling. And if we come to this show to talk about the people, our listeners, what they feel in their pockets, what they feel when they go to school, this is what matters. So all these stories we are talking about, for me, I've not seen act of genius. The president is very good politically. In fact, that's why they are competing with Raila, because they know they are very good in it. Fixing the economy, they haven't told us how they are doing it. Okay. Because if we don't know how they are doing it, how do we say we pray he has good will? Good intentions cannot put food on the table.
All right, fair enough.
No,
as we sum it up.
Yes.
Yes.
First of all, it's not right to say that President William Ruto's administration has no plan for the economy, because they came to power on the platform of a manifesto which they are trying to implement systematically. We have talked about the issue of the Hustler Fund last week, which they have implemented. They are trying to sort out the issue of
Hustler Fund is illegal.
No, listen. It's not illegal. It's not been said.
I've taken it to court and
you are taking it to court. And
no, we are putting facts here.
No, listen, bro. You taking it to court does not make it illegal until the court says so.
The
judge has stopped
the judge.
You have to know that.
No, the judge has stopped directors from taking office.
We are not aware of that. We are not aware.
If you're not aware, it is on record.
Let me finish this.
Okay.
It's your right to take it to court, and we are in a free country. Anyone can go to court. But the fact remains that Hustler Fund is not illegal, neither has it been declared illegal. So
adjustments have been made upwards.
So it's not good to mislead our viewers. So as I was saying,
he's handling he has the case.
It's good. I can even take a court to the court and say,
and challenge.
We are in court. Yes, anyone can go to court, but that does not give you the right to say things that are not supposed to be said on TV, because there's no outcome or verdict from the courts regarding what you're talking about. Secondly, as I said, Linda, the issue of the economic, the president has formed an economic council and an investment council, full of eminent people who mean well for this country, people who know what they are doing, and they are doing things day by day. But you see, we cannot jump the gun and that in 6 months expect everything to be done, as I keep saying. We will hold this, we keep holding this government to account, we support it, and we will always hold them to account, like we have done, and we keep doing. But the issue of the economy is just, you know, stage by stage. We have talked about the Hustler Fund, which has been implemented. We are talking about security, which is affects the economy, the banditry and all these things being addressed. We are talking about restructuring the debt, which the handshake put into this country. You know, that's one thing they always keep forgetting, that we are in this mess because of the handshake brothers, and we can't sort this mess in 6 months. And the people who have been tasked to do that job are so far doing well, and they are progressing day by day. That's why the president yesterday, over the weekend while he was in Addis Ababa, he addressed the international community, especially the financiers, and you know, he said we have to be given finances based on who we are, how we do our things. And that's why he said you either Africanize or you perish. And you see, William Ruto has the courage to come out to the podium and say things for what they are and ask for changes. And unlike the people, you know, the previous regime, which has always been clapping until we sank ourselves deep into an economic hole that we are trying to get out of.
A regime that he was part of.
Yes.
Will also end
you know that he was outside to the government of the day.
By closing remarks.
Let's close, yes.
Linda, there are people who can come in the podium and talk very courageously, but the action, I'm an economist. The way IMF has structured the loan they gave, and in fact, there were conditional loan. You remember, there is what they call conditional loan, which was given by IMF. The conditions were about how fuel prices should be. They remain what they are. So you can shout in Addis Ababa, but when we come to Kenya, it's a different story. So I can say that having courage to talk is easy. But when you come, the condition the IMF put is the reason why subsidies were not supposed to be there. That they're not there. So the president is playing according to World Bank, IMF. So telling us he's shouting and Addis Ababa is a story for another day. The president gave us 100 days plan. Let us still measure him on a 100 days plan, because I'm sure, Ahmed, you have no change in manifesto, remains the same. Let us act on what you promise. If the president promised what he promised, not knowing that he cannot deliver, then that's a problem. If you knew that he can deliver and he's not delivering, that's another problem. So either way, you cannot explain to me saying that you can't do 100 days, you take them to 100-year days. Kenyans are dying of hunger today. The person not going to school is not going to school today. The person sick in hospital, deathbed, is dying today. They are not waiting for you for 1 year. So we ask, if Kenyans are dying of hunger, how many of them? We are told 6 million Kenyans are exposed to hunger, isn't it? So they'll die for you to turn around the economy. You want to kill 6 million people, then we wait for you to turn around the economy after they are dead. Do we have them? Life is infinite in value.
That's an exaggeration.
No, even if it's one, Linda, life cannot be measured by numbers. Life is infinite value. Whether it's 1 life, 10 life, 50 lives, is true. Statistics are clear, even by a central bank, that 6 million Kenyans need relief food and they are dying of hunger today. Let's sort out that issue today. That's what Uhuru said. Let me give you this stimulus to keep you alive as I sort out XYZ. In fact, Linda, if you're sick, they'll give you a painkiller. They can lower temperature.
If you know well that if
as they wait for you,
he knows that those subsidies were introduced 3-4 months the election,
for purposes of the election.
But Linda, the impact is somebody stayed alive because of them.
No, listen, it doesn't matter where somebody stayed. You know, when you is an
as we close,
it's important to know that those subsidies, first of all, were an economic, you know,
political experience.
They were done for political expediency. I agree with him on that. They had no whatsoever sound. They were not based on sound economic policy. They were just floated.
Sound.
They were just floated to doing people to vote for, and that's why they failed, because people knew that. Look,
they didn't fail.
They failed because they didn't win the election.
Amen.
And they didn't fail. You know, people said we are being doing. Let's eat, but you know where our ballot, where our vote is going.
Okay, well, interesting. And conversation that continues, and of course will be on our social media platforms. You can always follow that. There we get your views as we continue. Professor Fred Ogola, governance and political expert, as well as Ahmed Kada, who is a political analyst and blogger. Thank you so much,